Hey guys, what's up? Today we're listening to Teen Wolf, Dragon Among Wolves. So sit back, relax, and just enjoy the ride. And hey, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And if you're one of the OGs, welcome back. You already know, it's about to get real.
Jacob woke up face down on a carpet. My head hurts. He pushed himself up, blinking at the sunlight streaming through windows that were definitely not from his orphanage room back in New York. The room was nice. Like HGTV makeover nice. Plush gray couches, a 60-inch TV, a fireplace. He was in the living room of a mansion. Where am I? Then Jacob panicked. Did I get kidnapped by some pervert rich woman because I'm too handsome? Thinking that, he scrambled to his feet, patting himself down frantically. Clothes? He was still wearing the same clothes from yesterday. Body? No mysterious aches. He sighed in relief. Everything's okay. I was scared there for a second. After that, his eyes darted around the empty room. No one's here. Should I yell like an idiot in a movie? Hello? Anyone there? Screw that. I better run before whoever kidnapped me comes back. With that thought, Jacob started sneaking around, trying not to make a sound as he searched for the front door. It didn't take long to find it. He crept toward it quietly and was just about to turn the knob when a blue holographic screen flickered to life in front of him. System initialized. Trans-dimensional travel successful. Welcome to a new world, Jacob Alexander. What is this? Did the kidnappers plant some sci-fi shit in my head? Jacob said, his voice trembling. Then he groaned as memories flooded back. Last night, he'd been binge-watching Teen Wolf in his orphanage room when a weird pop-up appeared on his phone. Want to live your best supernatural life? Want to travel to another world? Click yes. He'd clicked it, obviously. Who wouldn't? But he'd assumed it was just another sketchy mobile game ad. Turns out it was way more than that. The blue screen updated. Location, Beacon Hills, California. Teen Wolf World. Host, do you want to sign in? Jacob sat there staring at the blue screen. Okay, either I'm hallucinating or I just won the supernatural lottery. He pinched himself. Art. Oh, that hurts. So let's assume this is real for now. That means this blue screen is my system, just like those cheap online novels. Out loud he said, "What kind of system are you?" Host doesn't need to shout. You can communicate with me in your mind. Jacob thought. Okay, what kind of system are you and what can you do? Classification, sign-in system. Functions, 3 sign-in modes. 1. Daily sign-in, random rewards, food, currency, tools, low-tier weapons, etc. 2. Monthly sign-in, random supernatural abilities, magical weapons, potions, special food, special items, etc. 3. Event/location sign-in, special rewards for signing in at marked sites or during key events. Additional, host can complete quests for extra rewards. Jacob, system hold up. About the quests, do I get punished if I can't complete them or if I ignore them? The system is just a tool to assist the host. It lacks the will or authority to punish you. You may unbind the system at any time. Quests are voluntary. Ignoring them only forfeits potential rewards. Jacob, okay, good to know. Now show me my status. Can you do that? Status. Name, Jacob Alexander, 16 years old. Species, human. Abilities, none. Weapons, none. What about my speed, strength, and physique? The system cannot measure physical attributes, e.g., speed, strength. It only displays species, abilities, and weapons. I see. By the way, do I have a novice gift package or something? Host has already received the following upon arrival. 1. The house you are standing in. Note, the house has a barrier preventing supernatural creatures from entering unless you grant permission. 2. An ID, driver's license, and legal emancipation. 3. A bank card with $2 million. 4. Beacon Hills high enrollment papers. 5. A phone. 6. An infinite pocket dimension stores non-living items. Note, the deed to the house and other documents are stored in your pocket dimension. Jacob, how do I take stuff out of the pocket dimension? The host just needs to think about the pocket dimension to see what's inside. To remove or store items, simply focus on what you want and it will be taken out or stored. Jacob closed his eyes and saw an infinite space in his mind. When he opened them again, he thought about taking out his bank card, and it materialized in his hand. Cool, Jacob said. He spent the next few minutes playing with his pocket dimension, storing the couch and retrieving it repeatedly. Then he thought, System, are you sure I can't enter the pocket dimension myself? Only non-living things can be stored there, host. Jacob sighed. Too bad. If I could go in there, I'd at least have an emergency escape option. Reminder, host still has one unclaimed gift from the starter package. Please select your supernatural species. The screen flashed, presenting 4 options. 1. True Alpha Werewolf. Strength grows with your willpower. The stronger you become, the more forms and abilities you unlock. 2. Phoenix. Immortal Firebird. Control flames, immune to fire. Can heal with flames unless decapitated or heart is destroyed. Grows stronger through near-death experiences. More forms and abilities unlock as you grow stronger. 3. Kitsune. Choose your type without worry of fox spirit possession. Grow stronger by gaining tails and with age. More forms and abilities unlock as you grow stronger. 4. Dragon. Breath fire, fire immunity, extremely strong physique. Possesses passive charm that attracts mates. More forms and abilities unlock as you grow stronger. Note, all species include standard shifter abilities, super strength, enhanced senses, rapid healing, super speed, etc. Jacob examined the options carefully. Forget the werewolf and kitsune, they're not as powerful as the phoenix or dragon. If I choose phoenix, I'd have to get beaten half to death constantly to grow stronger, and I'm not a masochist, that's not my kind of hobby. That leaves only one choice, become a Pokemon trainer. A noble dragon. After a moment's silence, Jacob laughed. Who am I kidding? I want to catch them all. Even if there was something stronger than a dragon on this list, I'd still pick dragon unless that creature had better charm powers. Standing up, Jacob smirked and announced. System, I choose the ultimate chick magnet species. Sorry host, there is no chick magnet species on the list. Please review the options again. Jacob coughed awkwardly. I choose the dragon. Confirm choice, dragon? Yes/no. Without hesitation, Jacob answered. Yes. Selection confirmed. Dragon traits unlocking? A warm tingling sensation spread through Jacob's body. His vision sharpened dramatically, he could now see individual dust motes floating in sunlight like glitter. He felt his strength increasing, and his fingernails elongated into sharp black claws. His eyes transformed, becoming reptilian with golden irises that glowed faintly. Whoa! Jacob flexed his hands. This feels awesome. Jacob tried to shift further but couldn't. He asked the system. System, why can't I grow scales or wings? You need to grow stronger to unlock more traits. This can be achieved by consuming potions if you're lucky enough to get them from monthly sign-ins or as special rewards from location/event sign-ins. Otherwise, you'll grow stronger gradually each day. Additionally, finding more mates will accelerate your growth. Dragons are naturally lustful creatures. The more mates you have, the faster your strength increases. Note, you can share system-granted powers with your mates to strengthen them, but only after marriage. Jacob thought. System, I'm too young to get married, and even if I wanted to, I don't think people under 18 can legally marry. The marriage I refer to is a soul contract between you and your mates. The system will recognize it as a binding marriage contract that ties your mates to you for life. Note, this is not a slave contract. It simply ensures they cannot betray or harm you. Jacob mused to himself. You're too considerate. But let's forget about mates for now. I'll just hope for useful potions or something to strengthen me from the system. Reminder, the host still hasn't signed in today. Great. Jacob said. System, sign in. Daily sign-in successful. Rewards obtained. A cheeseburger with fries and a Coke. Rubber chicken. Senju Tsunade's bath water 5 liters, Naruto. Jacob stared in stunned disbelief. Tsunade's bath water? System, what kind of shitty reward is this? I'm not some disgusting pervert. I don't want anyone's bath water. Host, you are now a dragon and dragons are naturally perverse. Expect similar rewards occasionally. Jacob searched for the bathroom in his new house while complaining. I like girls but not enough to want their bath water. If you're going to give me a reward, you might as well summon Tsunade herself. What use do I have for her dirty bath water? After finding the luxurious bathroom, he poured the uncontained bath water directly from his pocket dimension into the toilet. Disgusting, he muttered. He then studied his reflection in the mirror. A 1.8-meter tall teenager with black hair stared back. Good, I'm still me. I didn't possess someone else's body. Looking at the luxurious bathroom, he decided. Since I'm here, I might as well take a bath. After a quick shower, he filled the tub with hot water and sank in. He thought, this is unbelievable. I still can't wrap my head around traveling to another world, but I'm not going to complain. There's nothing to miss from my original world. My parents died when I was 8 and I spent the next 8 years in an orphanage. It wasn't terrible, but I'm genuinely happy to be here, starting fresh. And let's not forget the supernatural powers. This is so exciting. Later, wrapped in a bathrobe, Jacob explored the mansion. The place was enormous, 10 bedrooms, gleaming marble floors beneath crystal chandeliers, and a grand staircase worthy of a film set. He discovered a library straight from a Gothic novel, floor-to-ceiling mahogany shelves packed with classics he'd never read, Cleather armchairs, and a rolling ladder to access the highest books. The gaming room made him grin, a neon-lit paradise featuring a 90-inch TV, an ultra-comfortable gaming chair, a gaming PC, an Xbox 360, a retro arcade cabinet. Jacob sighed. This PC and Xbox are outdated compared to 2025 tech from my world, but I guess they'll do. Venturing outside, he found a beautiful garden with stone paths winding through rose bushes, leading to a wooden gazebo with comfortable chairs. The attached garage held his biggest surprise, a sleek 2011 Chevrolet Camaro SS, black as midnight. Running his hand along the car's edge, Jacob whispered, "What a beauty." After inspecting the car, Jacob returned to the mansion and headed upstairs to the master bedroom. He rummaged through the walk-in closet, that was filled with clothes that fit him perfectly. Tossing aside his bathrobe, he dressed in black cargo pants, a white t-shirt and a dark green bomber jacket, finishing the look with gray low-top Jordans. Descending to the kitchen, he discovered the fridge completely empty, no food whatsoever. Shaking his head, Jacob pulled out a chair and sat at the table. "Well, I'll make do with the cheeseburger I got as a reward today. After eating, I'll go buy groceries, and school supplies too, it seems." As he ate, he asked the system, "By the way, has the Teen Wolf plot started yet? Tomorrow night is when Scott McCall will be bitten by Peter Hale." Jacob took another bite of his burger. "Great, that means Scott and Allison haven't met yet. I should befriend her first and prevent her from falling for Scott. Maybe get close to Lydia too after she breaks up with Jackson, then let my dragon charm work its magic. There's also Malia, but no one's pursuing her yet, I'll leave her alone for now. Who else? Oh, Kira of course, and Cora too. That's it. Erica. No, she's not my type. Maybe I'll help Styles get with her, he's one of my favorite characters anyway. Since I'm going after Lydia and Malia, the girls he's supposed to end up with." Shaking his head, Jacob continued thinking, "I'm just dreaming here. Getting those girls to fall for me and accept being in a harem will be difficult. Still, I need to meet Allison before she meets Scott. I can't lose her." After finishing his meal, Jacob cleaned the table. "I should test my strength and see what I can do, but that can wait until after I get back from shopping." Then he headed to the garage and drove his new car toward town. Jacob arrived at an office supply store, parked his Camaro and stepped inside. Grabbing a basket, he took his school supplies list from his pocket dimension and began walking through the aisles, casually tossing in notebooks and pens, until he turned a corner and nearly collided with someone. Whoa! A girl stumbled back, her dark hair swishing over her shoulders as she clutched a binder to her chest. Her wide, curious eyes met his. Jacob caught her elbow to steady her. "Sorry about that." "It's okay," the girl said. "I wasn't paying attention either." Jacob recognized her immediately and thought, "She is Allison. Great, I should at least make friends with her." Noticing her basket full of school supplies, he asked, "I just moved to town today. What's your excuse for waiting so late to buy school supplies?" Allison smiled. "I just moved here a few days ago too. Haven't had time to shop until now." Jacob extended his hand. "I'm Jacob. And you?" "Allison." She shook his hand. "You said you're not from here either. Where are you from?" "New York." "You?" "My family moved here from San Francisco. We've visited relatives here before, but this is our first time living in Beacon Hills full-time." She studied him with subtle interest, maybe the dragon charm at work. "Which high school do you go to?" Allison asked. "Beacon Hills High, starting Monday." "You?" "Same." She twirled a strand of hair around her finger, a nervous habit perhaps. "How about we continue shopping together since we need the same supplies?" Jacob smiled. "Okay, I wouldn't mind having a friend in this new town. Besides, it's awkward being the new kid in class. If we're in the same class, we can at least go together." "I know what you mean," Allison said. "My family moves around a lot. I've been the new kid twice in 1 year more than once." They walked together, chatting as they finished their shopping. After paying, Jacob pulled out his phone. "Want to exchange numbers?" Allison grinned. Sure. Once they'd exchanged contacts, they stepped outside. You got a ride or need a lift? Jacob asked, jerking his thumb toward the Camaro. I've got a car. Allison's eyebrows rose. That's your car? She's beautiful, right? She. Allison laughed. So you're one of those car-loving geeks? Jacob smiled. I guess I am, but I only love my car, at least until I get a few more. Then I'll love them all. Allison was still laughing when a red SUV pulled up to the curb. My ride's here. A woman with short red hair rolled down the window, glanced at Jacob, then addressed her daughter. Allison, let's go. Allison gave Jacob an apologetic look. See you at school Monday? Yeah, see you Monday. Jacob replied. As Allison got into her mother's car, Victoria asked, Who was that boy? His name is Jacob, Allison said with a smile. He just moved to Beacon Hills today. From where? New York. Okay. Victoria said dismissively. Enough about him. Did you get everything you need? Yes, but can we go get something to eat? Victoria smiled. Sure, sweetheart. After Allison left, Jacob tossed his school supplies into the Camaro's trunk and slid into the driver's seat. He drove to a supermarket to buy groceries, smirking to himself as he thought. That went better than expected. I didn't think I'd meet Allison this soon. I was planning to meet her Monday morning at school before she met Scott, but this works too. And her mom seems just as mean as in the show. Well, let's not worry about my future mother-in-law for now. Jacob parked outside the supermarket and went inside. I think I need a lot of food. I just ate a cheeseburger, but I'm hungry again. Hey system, what's going on with my body? Why do I feel hungry again? The host's body is now a dragon. Although not yet strong, you require high food intake for growth. Consider yourself a baby dragon needing substantial energy to develop. Focus on eating plenty of meat and high-energy foods. Won't I get fat? The host needn't worry. As explained, your dragon body requires this energy for proper growth. Cool. I do love food. Now, let's see if this market does home delivery because I'm about to buy a lot of food to stock my fridge and put the rest in my pocket dimension. By the way, system, will food spoil in my pocket dimension? No. Items stored there remain frozen in time. Good. Then I'll hit a few restaurants and order cooked meals in bulk too. Jacob approached a supermarket employee and, after confirming they offered delivery, explained he was throwing a party and needed large quantities of food. He purchased massive amounts of beef, lamb, various fresh fish, fruits, vegetables, and snacks. After paying and providing his address, he was told everything would be delivered within 4 hours. He then visited several restaurants, placing enormous orders for different cuisines, paying upfront and giving them his delivery address. With his errands complete, Jacob drove to a secluded area of the Beacon Hills Preserve. Getting out of his car, he began testing his powers. He punched a tree, splitting it in half. And he smashed a large rock with his fist, feeling no pain. Then he lifted a multi-ton boulder overhead effortlessly. System, can I breathe fire yet? Not yet, host. You haven't awakened the fire-breathing ability. Jacob sighed. Then he tried his speed and found out he was very fast. He almost turned into a blur when running at full speed. He took a kitchen knife from his pocket dimension and tried to cut his arm, but the sharp knife couldn't hurt him. I have really strong skin now. Let's try my claws. He flexed his hand and his sharp black claws appeared. Using them, he managed to scratch his arm and create a wound, but it closed very quickly and healed. Next, he went to a big rock and slashed it with his claws, leaving 5 deep marks. He didn't feel any resistance when slashing the rock at all. Jacob climbed on top of the big rock and laughed like a maniac, shouting out loud. With powers like these, I'll be unstoppable. I could be a superhero. Ha 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 ha. After having his fun, he sat down and thought. Well, I got that out of my system. I'm no hero. As long as people don't bother me, I won't bother them. Unless I see something bad and can help, I guess I would. But I should be careful, this is a real world and I bet the werewolves and other supernatural creatures here are way stronger than in the show. They probably just didn't have enough budget for more special effects. For now, I don't think I'm as strong as Peter, or maybe even Derek, so I should be careful and not get too cocky. After a while, Jacob stood up and walked back to his car, thinking. I should go home and wait for the delivery guys. And I should probably learn how to cook too, at least how to roast meat and barbecue. Jacob drove home, and shortly after arriving, the delivery trucks came one by one with his orders. After the delivery men left, he stored the cooked meals in his pocket dimension. He filled his fridge with food and drinks, stocked the kitchen cabinets with snacks, and put the remaining items in his pocket dimension. Then he took out a whole roasted chicken, several steaks, and other dishes, covering the table with what looked like a feast for 6 people. He wolfed everything down. After cleaning up, he mused, "Tomorrow should be exciting. I'll go meet Styles and Scott in the woods, but I won't stop Scott from becoming a werewolf. For now, let's play some games while I digest." As he walked to the gaming room, he wondered aloud, "I wonder what kind of games were popular in 2011. Did people even have games other than Super Mario back then?" A sudden panic set in. What if there were no good games? He hurried to the gaming room, turned on the PC, and searched for the best games of the year. Relief washed over him. I was scared for nothing. There are plenty of great games. But which one should I start with? After browsing, several caught his eye. Batman, Arkham City, The Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, Assassin's Creed Revelations, and many others looked appealing too. There are too many good options, Jacob said. But I think I'll start with The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. It looks amazing. Now let's buy it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold up. Stop for a sec. Look, if you've already made it this far into the video and you're still here, come on, subscribe, bro. Help a brother out, man. It's one tiny click for you, but it's a massive, and I mean massive, heck yeah for me. Plus, it keeps the algorithm from thinking I'm boring, and we both know that's a total lie. All right. I'm done. I'll get out of the way now so you can get back to the good stuff. Stick around and finish listening. It's worth it. Peace.
After installing the game, Jacob played until 5 a.m. As he finally crawled into bed, he checked the system and noticed a new daily sign-in available, but decided to wait until morning. Smiling to himself, he said, "For my first day in a new world, it was pretty great. Now let's sleep, and maybe have a nice dream about Tsunade-sama." Kihei. Jacob didn't wake up until 11 a.m. He went to the bathroom, took a shower, then dressed in sweatpants and a white t-shirt. In the kitchen, he retrieved some baked goods from his pocket dimension, made fried eggs with bacon, poured orange juice from the fridge, and had breakfast before moving to the living room. System, sign in. Daily sign-in successful. Rewards obtained. Bear spray. A large box of butter popcorn. $100. Jacob sighed. At least there's nothing weird this time. The bear spray could be useful. Werewolves and shapeshifters have sensitive senses of smell, but they also heal fast. I wonder what would happen if I spray Peter tonight. Just then Allison called. He answered. "Good morning, Allison. What's up?" "I was wondering if you want to hang out or something," she said. "Sure," Jacob replied. "Should I pick you up? Do you want to come to my house or should we meet somewhere? Send me your address. I'll drive to your house, then we can decide what to do afterward." "Okay." Jacob hung up and texted his address. Allison replied, "I'll be there soon." Jacob smirked. This charm ability is strong, but I shouldn't get ahead of myself. She probably just wants to hang out as friends for now. About 20 minutes later, Allison arrived at the iron front gate of his mansion and texted that she was there. Jacob went out, opened the gate, and said, "Welcome, Allison. Drive your car in." Allison parked in front of the mansion and stepped out. Jacob closed the gate and walked to her. "Good morning. How are you?" "Good," she replied, then looked at the mansion. "I knew you were rich after seeing your car, but I didn't think you were this rich." Jacob smiled. "Want to come in?" Allison hesitated. "Won't I bother your family or something?" He shook his head. "No, I live alone." "What about your parents?" "They're dead." "I'm sorry, I didn't know." Jacob cut her off gently. "Don't worry about it. It's been 8 years. Sure, I miss them, but life goes on. Let's not talk about sad things. Come in, I'll give you a tour." After showing her around, they went to the kitchen. Allison sat at the table. "Wow, this house is beautiful." "Yeah, I was shocked when I first saw it yesterday too," Jacob said. "What would you like to drink? Coke or juice?" "What kind of juice do you have?" Jacob opened the fridge. "Orange, pineapple, strawberry, cranberry, and some fruit cocktail bottles. Come pick what you want. I also bought a cheesecake yesterday if you'd like some." Allison walked over. "Do you have any naked juice here?" Jacob grabbed a Coke. "Some of them." Allison took an orange juice bottle and eyed the cake. "That looks delicious, but I shouldn't eat it." Jacob looked her up and down. "Why?" She crossed her arms. "What's with the look?" "Shit, I messed up." Jacob quickly said, "Nothing. I just think it's okay to eat sweets sometimes." "You think I'm too skinny?" Jacob raised his hands in surrender. Okay, I'm not playing the fat skinny game. You look perfect. I just meant you're in no danger of getting fat, that's all. Allison snorted, took the cheesecake and sat back down. Give me a fork. Jacob handed her one. She stabbed the cake aggressively while eating. Savor it. Jacob said, sitting opposite her. You'll choke. Ignoring him, Allison kept eating. Jacob got lost in thought, imagining what a chubby Allison might look like, and smirked. Allison saw Jacob smiling and glared at him. What are you laughing at? I was just thinking about what a fat Allison would look like. Jacob said. Hey, are you cursing me? Allison said. No. Jacob replied. But if you keep eating like that, you won't leave anything for me. I haven't tasted that cake yet. Allison snorted and kept eating, ignoring him completely. Jacob stood up, grabbed a fork and joined the battle, fighting Allison for every bite. Damn it, Allison, stay on your side. Aren't you supposed to be a girl? He said as their forks clashed. Of course I'm a girl. Allison retorted, still stabbing at the cake. Well, you don't eat like one. Jacob countered. Allison shrugged. This cake is just that good. I can't stop eating it. When the last crumb was gone, Allison sighed. That cake was so delicious, don't you think? I wouldn't know. Jacob grumbled. You ate all of it. Allison smirked. Don't be so cheap. Besides, I only ate half of it. Or maybe a little more than half. Then she burped loudly. Oops. Jacob looked at her with mock disgust. How ladylike of you. They both burst out laughing. After catching her breath, Allison asked. Earlier you said you were shocked when you first saw this house. Didn't you know about it? Weren't you living in a place like this in New York? Jacob shook his head. No, I didn't know about it until I arrived yesterday. All I knew was that my parents left me a house in Beacon Hills. I was living in an orphanage back in New York. Allison's expression softened. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't be. He shrugged. It wasn't terrible. The people there were nice to me and the other orphans. We had food and a roof over our heads. It's just, not home, you know? Allison pressed gently. Didn't you have any other relatives to live with? Or couldn't you get adopted? No, I don't have any living relatives. Jacob explained. As for adoption, I didn't want to leave the orphanage. It was nice there. And to be honest, I was scared to go to a new home and get abused. I heard stories from other kids about their bad experiences after being adopted. Allison felt a pang of guilt. Damn it, what's wrong with me? Why am I asking stupid questions and reminding him of things he probably wants to forget? I'm such an idiot. Seeing her worried expression, Jacob reassured her. Don't worry, Allison. I don't mind talking about my past. It made me who I am. Now tell me about you. Do you miss San Francisco? Not really. Allison replied. Did you grow up there? No, she said. We were in San Francisco for more than a year, which is unusual for my family. We move a lot because of my dad's work, so we never stay in one place more than a year. Jacob raised an eyebrow. So you went to a lot of schools, huh? Allison nodded. Yeah. I was also homeschooled by my mom sometimes, so I didn't even have friends growing up and... Her voice dropped to a whisper. I repeated a year. Jacob smirked. Oh, because you're stupid? Allison glared and hit him with the empty juice bottle. No. Because we moved a lot. Jacob laughed. Sorry, I thought it was because you were too stupid. Allison snorted. You're an idiot. I'm telling you about my depressing life and you're making fun of me. Don't be mad. Jacob said, still grinning. I'm just joking. Allison smiled and asked. What about you? Did you have friends back in New York? Friends? Jacob said. I had a lot of those. I make friends easily, but I never had a best friend. And I've got lots of enemies too. I tend to joke around and make fun of people, so most don't like me that much. Allison nodded. I noticed. Just this morning you called me too skinny, then fat, then stupid. You're really hard to like. Jacob smirked. Come on, if you keep complimenting me like that I'll blush. Allison rolled her eyes. Scumbag. Then she noticed Jacob's cheeks flushing red. You really are blushing. You pervert. Jacob's face turned even redder. Stop it. You're killing me with your compliments. You really are a perverted weirdo. Allison said, shaking her head. Why are you turning redder? Maybe I should leave. Jacob burst out laughing. Relax. I can make my face red by clenching my jaws and tightening my facial muscles. It's a skill I developed when I was 9 to look cute and get more sweets, and maybe even a few dollars from the caretakers at the orphanage. Allison's eyes widened. What? And that actually worked? Of course. Jacob grinned. Just look how handsome I am now. Imagine me at 9, cute with chubby cheeks, telling those ladies they were beautiful while blushing on command. They gave me everything I asked for. Allison said. That's disgusting. You lied to those women and manipulated their emotions. Hey, don't judge me, Jacob said, raising his hands. I did what I had to do for the sweets. They both laughed and Jacob got up to clean the kitchen. So, should we go to town or play some video games? Let's play video games, Allison decided. They spent the afternoon in the game room until 5 p.m. when Allison finally paused the game. I should head home. I need to go clothes shopping with my mom. Jacob nodded. Okay. He walked her to her car and got in beside her as she drove to the iron gate. After opening it for her, Allison said, Thanks for today, Jay. It was fun. Jacob smiled. You're always welcome here, Allison. Allison returned his smile. Then I'll come bother you more often. Bye. See you tomorrow. And please wait for me at the school gate if I'm late. I'll do the same if I get there first. Okay, see you tomorrow? Jacob agreed. As Allison drove away, Jacob closed the gate and walked back to the mansion, thinking, She's a nice girl. I hope she'll fall in love with me. I'll do everything I can to keep her safe until I can share my powers with her. Now, time to get ready for going to the woods tonight and meeting Styles, Scott, and Peter. After Allison left, Jacob went back inside the mansion and straight to the kitchen. Although I liked Allison's company, I'm starving, he said. And I'm kind of glad she left because I'm not ready yet to tell her why I eat so much food. He took several cooked meals from his pocket dimension, piled them on the table, and devoured everything. After cleaning up, he went to the living room and lay down, opening the system interface where he saw a reminder. System note: Host has 3 hours until Scott McCall gets the bite. Available sign-ins. Location sign-in: Host can sign in near Laura Hale's dead body. Event sign-in: Host can sign in after witnessing Scott McCall getting the bite. Quest: Host can sign in after fighting Peter Hale. Note: It doesn't matter if you win or lose, but the reward if you win will be better than if you lose. If the host chooses not to fight Peter Hale, there will be no sign-in chance. Jacob thought. I can do the location sign-in and the event sign-in, both are easy. As for the quest, I'll decide after seeing Peter in his alpha werewolf form. I don't think I can win against him unless I get a good reward first. His thoughts turned to how to meet Scott and Styles. If I remember correctly, they parked Styles' Jeep at the entrance of the Beacon Hills Preserve. I should be there at least an hour before Scott gets bitten. Jacob lay on the couch to digest his food until there was only an hour and a half left before Scott's transformation. He went upstairs, changed into black cargo pants, a black hoodie, and black hiking boots. After checking a map on his computer to locate the preserve entrance, he left the mansion. Using his super speed, he became nearly invisible as he raced toward the Beacon Hills Preserve entrance. The trip took only 5 minutes. He hid behind a tree near the entrance, waiting for Styles' Jeep to arrive. While waiting, he could hear the sheriff and deputies with their search dogs combing the woods for Laura's body. 20 minutes later, Styles' Jeep arrived and parked nearby. As Scott and Styles got out and prepared to enter the woods, Jacob emerged from behind the tree and approached them. Seeing the two boys panic, Jacob smiled evilly and used a fake deep voice. You two kids, what are you doing here? Styles mustered his courage. Who are you? What do you want? Jacob maintained the fake voice. I want money. Do you have any? Styles blinked. Are you mugging us? What do you think, smartass? The sheriff and deputies are right here. Styles threatened. If you come closer, I'll shout. Jacob laughed darkly. Try it. Let's see if I stab you to death first or the cops get here first. Scott panicked. Styles, just give him the money if you have any. He pulled out a $10 bill. Here, take it. This is all I have. Styles reluctantly added a 20. This is all I've got. Jacob took the money, having had his fun. He pulled back his hood. Thanks, guys. Styles blinked in confusion. What happened to your deep voice? He shone his flashlight on Jacob's face. You're our age. Jacob grinned. I guess so. Hi, I'm Jacob. What are your names? Styles. Scott. Jacob laughed. Nice to meet you guys. Styles scowled. We don't feel the same. It was not nice meeting you at all, mugger. Jacob threw an arm around Styles' shoulder. Don't be like that. I'm not a mugger, I'm a teacher. I just taught you guys not to go into the woods at night. Scott asked hopefully. Can we get our money back then? That was all I had. Jacob pocketed the cash. No, that was tuition money. No refunds. Styles pushed Jacob away from him. What are you doing here? Jacob shrugged. I heard the sheriff and his people are looking for a dead body. I was bored at home, so I came to take a look. Styles' eyes lit up with excitement. Really? Stu. Then let's go together. Scott grabbed Styles' arm. We can't trust him. Come on man, I can hear you, Jacob said, rolling his eyes. Stop acting like a little bitch. I just saw you two nerds coming to the woods and thought I'd scare you. Now if you don't want to look for the body, I'll go alone before the sheriff finds it. Jacob started walking into the woods. Styles dragged Scott along. Wait for us. We're coming too. The two caught up with him and Styles asked, Which high school do you go to? Beacon Hills High. Jacob replied. Us too. Styles said. But I've never seen you there before. I just moved to Beacon Hills. I'll start school tomorrow. Styles narrowed his eyes. By the way, where did you hear about the body? You guys first. Where did you hear about it? My dad's the sheriff. Styles said proudly. I heard him talking about the body on the phone. Now your turn. Facebook. Jacob lied smoothly. Someone posted about it. Really? Yeah. Now tell me who's the hottest girl in school. Styles answered immediately. That would be Lydia Martin. She's so hot. Then I should go after her, Jacob declared. Styles shook his head. Unfortunately, you're too late. She has a boyfriend, the lacrosse team captain. Jacob smirked. I think I'm handsome enough to break them apart. Scott frowned. You're really not a good person, are you? I guess not, Jacob admitted. Besides, after tomorrow, the girl you mentioned won't be the hottest in school anymore. Styles looked at Jacob with mock shock. Who will it be? You. I didn't know you were a girl. Jacob chuckled. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about my friend, she's a new student too. You'll see her tomorrow? Is she your girlfriend? Styles asked. Not yet, Jacob said. But I hope she will be. Then why did you say you want to go after Lydia? Jacob's smirk widened. Because I want them all. I want to have a harem. Styles rolled his eyes. And I want to become Superman. Jacob threw his arm around Styles' shoulder again. That's a beautiful dream. Let's work hard to make our dreams come true. By the way, Scott, what's your dream? Scott hesitated. For now, I want to play lacrosse. I want to make first line this season. Jacob released Styles and feigned ignorance. Lacrosse? What's that? It's like hockey on grass. Styles explained. But the sticks have nets where you carry the ball. Jacob made a face. That sounds boring. Don't you guys have football or basketball here? No, Styles said. The most popular sport here is lacrosse. Well, I see, Jacob said. Good luck, Scott. I hope you make the team. As they talked, they climbed a steep hill. Scott fell behind, wheezing as he desperately tried to catch his breath. Wait for me, guys, he called before stopping to use his inhaler. At the top of the hill, Jacob and Styles spotted a line of deputies and police officers with search dogs combing the area for the body. Styles became so excited that he rushed toward the search area, leaving Jacob and Scott behind. Though Styles intended to stay out of the police's line of sight, he ended up running right into one of the deputies. The officer's dog immediately began barking and lunging toward him. Sheriff Stalinsky arrived just in time to stop the deputy. He immediately started yelling at Styles, questioning whether he'd been listening in on his phone calls again. The sheriff then looked around, correctly assuming that Styles' usual partner in crime Scott must be nearby. But Styles lied smoothly. Scott stayed home. He wanted to prepare for the first day of winter semester tomorrow. The sheriff saw through this obvious lie and called out. Scott. Scott, come out. As he shone his flashlight into the surrounding woods. Hidden behind a tree several yards away with Jacob, Scott remained perfectly still and silent. Jacob didn't make a sound either. After a tense moment, the sheriff, now believing Styles might have been telling the truth, grabbed his son by the back of the neck and dragged him away from the crime scene. After the sheriff took Styles and left, Scott and Jacob walked away in the opposite direction to avoid the police. As they moved deeper into the woods, a shadowy figure appeared ahead. Scott squinted into the darkness. What is that? Jacob could clearly see Peter in his alpha form with his enhanced vision but played dumb. I don't know. Before Scott could respond, a herd of deer stampeded past them. Jacob used his super speed to dodge while Scott dropped to the ground screaming. When the chaos passed, Scott stood up. Hey Jacob, where are you? Over here. Jacob called from nearby. Help me find my inhaler. Scott said, activating his phone's flashlight. I dropped it somewhere around here. As Scott searched through the dry leaves, his light fell on something pale and long. He found the bisected corpse of a brunette woman, her eyes frozen in terror. Horrified, Scott stumbled backward and fell down the hill. Jacob watched impassively, not interfering to ensure Scott would still receive the werewolf bite. Once Scott fell, Jacob approached the body. System, sign in. Location, sign in successful. Rewards obtained. 3 Senza beans. Dragon Ball Z fully restores health and energy, heals serious wounds, does not regenerate lost limbs. Lightsaber, defective, only cuts walls and rocks. Invisibility cloak, defective, works exclusively in women's bathrooms. Jacob groaned internally. Is this a joke? The Senza beans are decent since they restore energy, but I can already heal on my own. This lightsaber can't even cut steak. And that cloak is just perverted trash. System, you're cheating me? When no response came, he mentally shouted. Be a man and answer me, you stupid system. The system is not a man. Rewards depend entirely on the host's luck. Damn it. Jacob thought. Hope the event signing gives better stuff. Peering over the hill, he saw Peter pin Scott down and deliver the bite. System, sign in. Event sign in successful. Rewards obtained. Captain America's weak serum. Permanent 5% strength boost. 500 kilograms Sea King meat. 1 piece permanently increases strength by 5% when fully consumed. Thunder element crystal. Awakens thunder element upon consumption. Jacob retreated from Peter and Scott's location the moment he heard, sign in successful. After seeing the rewards, he was excited. They were all good ones. Jacob retrieved Captain America's weak serum from his pocket dimension and drank it. A warm current spread through his body as his muscles strengthened. Then he felt an odd sensation on his chest. When he touched it, he found scales had grown across the center. With a thought, he made them disappear. Not bad, he thought. At least I can cover part of my chest with scales now and protect my heart. Next, he consumed the thunder crystal, but nothing happened. System, show me my status. Status. Name, Jacob Alexander, 16 years old. Species, human/dragon. Abilities. 1. Fire element control locked. 2. Thunder element control locked. 3. Standard shifter abilities. 4. Passive charm. Weapons, defective lightsaber. Jacob sighed. Still too weak to use my elemental abilities, but having fire and thunder potential is satisfying enough for now. A bone-chilling howl pierced the night. And thunder boomed as rain began pouring down. Jacob thought. Scott had escaped, or more accurately, Peter let him go. Should I fight or flee? Screw it, let me see how strong I am compared to an alpha. Jacob's claws extended, his eyes shifting to glowing reptilian slits as he charged toward the howl's source. And soon he saw Peter coming toward him too. The two predators collided midair with a shockwave. Peter barely budged while Jacob went flying, smashing through a tree. Groaning, he clutched his side. Think I broke something. Jacob thought. I'm really no match for him and he's faster than me too. But luckily my skin is really thick, I don't feel too much pain. Peter circled warily, confused by this unknown shifter. Let's continue, you stupid mutt. Jacob taunted, wiping blood from his lip. Show me how strong an alpha really is. Peter blurred forward, claws raking Jacob's side, but only leaving shallow cuts that healed instantly. Jacob countered with a crushing blow to Peter's head, but only succeeded in making the alpha's head tilt slightly to the side, which just pissed Peter off even more. With a snarl, Peter retaliated with a crushing punch to Jacob's face, sending him flipping through the air before crashing hard onto the ground. Jacob stood up quickly, rubbing his jaw even though he wasn't hurt that much. He glared at Peter with anger and said, You stupid mutt. How dare you hit my perfect face? I'll make you pay for that. Peter smirked and spoke in a deep, beastly voice. You're too weak, kid. How about you join my pack? Jacob smiled. Just because I'm weaker than you doesn't mean I can't make you suffer. Take my punch. He attacked Peter as if to punch him, but at the last moment, the bear spray from his system reward appeared in his hand. Hey mutt, how sensitive is your sense of smell? Then he sprayed Peter point blank right in the face. Peter fell to the ground, rolling in agony as the bear spray burned his eyes, nose and mouth. Jacob didn't waste the opportunity, he started hitting Peter hard, kicking him in the crotch, stomping his head and slashing at his body with his claws. Though he managed to injure the alpha, his attacks weren't strong enough to cause real damage to Peter in his werewolf form. Suddenly, Peter caught Jacob's leg and threw him to the ground. Grabbing Jacob by the throat, Peter brought his wolf-like face close, tears streaming from his burning eyes. nose running, saliva dripping from the bear spray's effects. Jacob grimaced. Ugh, disgusting. Don't drip your snot on me, you dirty bastard. Just as Peter prepared to roar in Jacob's face, Jacob kicked him away, freeing himself before scrambling back. Standing up, Jacob took a deliberate step forward. Peter hesitated, wary that the stupid kid might have another trick. Striking what he thought was a cool pose, Jacob deepened his voice dramatically. Remember me, mutt. When I'm strong enough, I will look for you, I will find you, and I will kill you. He broke character with a grin. Damn, that was cool. Too bad no one's here to appreciate my performance except you, stupid mutt. Peter growled in anger and prepared to attack. Jacob thought, Peter looks really pissed this time. I better leave now. Then he pointed behind the furious werewolf and shouted, Hunters. Peter turned around, searching for the hunters, only to realize he'd been tricked again. When he turned back to attack Jacob, he found the smirking teen already inches from his face, wearing an evil grin. Before Peter could react, Jacob unleashed another blast of bear spray directly into his eyes. Blinded once more, Peter couldn't defend himself as Jacob drove two clawed fingers deep into his eyeballs. The alpha's howl of pain echoed through the woods as blood streamed from his ruined eyes. Jacob gave one final spray to Peter's face for good measure. This is for hitting my handsome face, you stupid mutt. He sneered. And you should consider yourself lucky you don't have balls in this form. With Peter blinded, Jacob ran away because Peter's eyes would heal soon, and he wouldn't fall for his tricks again. He shouted while running. This isn't over, you mongrel. I'll beat you one day. As he distanced himself from Peter, Jacob kept hearing the alpha's pained howls. With a smirk, he thought, Peter's definitely adding me to his must-kill list now. Jacob managed to escape the woods and reach the road, where he was nearly hit by a red SUV that screeched to a stop just inches away from him. He recognized Allison and her mother Victoria in the car. He thought, weren't they supposed to almost hit Scott? Why are they just passing by? Well, this is a good chance to spend more time with Allison, I guess, and get to know that mean woman Victoria. He ran to the driver's side window. Hello, ma'am. Can you give me a ride? Allison recognized him immediately. Jay, what are you doing here? Oh, hi, Allison. Jacob said, feigning surprise. I didn't see you there. He turned to Victoria. Mrs. Allison's mom, can you please give me a ride? There's a weird-looking bear chasing me. Victoria narrowed her eyes as she looked him up and down, taking in his dirty, messed-up clothes from the fight with Peter. As a hunter, she didn't trust him at all, so she didn't let him in. No. Mom? Allison protested. Let him in. Do you know this kid? Victoria asked. Yes. He's my friend Jacob, the one I met yesterday when shopping for school supplies. Remember? He was standing with me when you picked me up. Let him in. Victoria remained firm. He's filthy and soaked. He'll ruin my leather seats. Seeing Victoria wouldn't budge, Jacob sighed. All right, if you won't let me in, I need to run. You should get out of here too. See you tomorrow, Allison. Just then, a deep growl echoed from the woods. Jacob spun around to see two red eyes glowing behind a tree. Victoria immediately recognized an alpha's gaze, while Allison only saw what she thought was a bear. Mom? Who cares about the seats? Allison screamed. Unlock the door. There really is a bear chasing him. As Peter emerged from the trees, Victoria finally clicked the locks. Quickly, kid. Get in. Jacob jumped into the back seat as Victoria sped away. Peter gave chase, his supernatural speed closing the distance alarmingly fast. Kid. Victoria demanded. What exactly did you do to piss that thing off? Jacob smirked. Nothing much. Just sprayed it with bear spray a few times. It didn't like that at all. Allison squinted at Peter's alpha form chasing them. Unable to see clearly, she genuinely thought it was just a bear. Why is that bear so fast? Jacob shrugged. I don't know. Maybe someone experimented on it. You should see it up close, it's really messed up. Its eyes glow red, it only has fur on its back, and when it stood up, it was like 8 feet tall. It almost scared me to death when I first saw it. Hold on. Victoria shouted. That thing's about to hit us. Jacob rolled down the window just as Peter lunged. Another blast of bear spray sent the alpha reeling back, howling in pain and rage. Take that, you stupid beast. Jacob cheered. Okay, Mrs. Allison's mom, drive faster before it catches up again. Call me Mrs. Argent, kid. Okay, Mrs. Argent. As they drove away, they heard a final roar, but Peter didn't give chase. When Victoria deemed them safe, she slowed the car and studied Jacob through the rearview mirror. Kid, were you bitten by that thing? If you were, I should take you to a hospital. It could have rabies. Jacob thought. More like taking me to a morgue. Aloud he said, No, I wasn't bitten. If that thing got close enough to bite me, I'd be dead by now. How did you escape? Victoria pressed. I already told you, bear spray. Didn't you see me use it just now? Victoria's eyes narrowed. What were you doing in the woods at night? Jacob spun his tail smoothly. I heard the sheriff was looking for a dead body in the woods, so I went to check it out. I thought it would be safe with all those deputies around, but when the sheriff almost found me, I panicked. And I didn't want to answer too many questions or get taken to the station, so I ran, and that's when I met that thing. Allison gasped. A dead body? Did you see it? Jacob said. Unfortunately, yes, it was the upper half of a girl. It was gruesome. Victoria, still distrustful of Jacob, wanted to know more about him. She said, I'll drive you home, kid. Where do you live? Jacob gave her his address and she said, That's a wealthy neighborhood. What do your parents do? Allison, knowing Jacob was an orphan, looked at her mom and said, Mom, don't ask. Jacob cut her off. It's okay, Allison. I don't mind talking about them. Thinking about his parents, he missed them. He looked out the car window with a wistful smile and said, My dad was a doctor and my mom was a lawyer. Was? Victoria echoed. Jacob's voice softened. They died 8 years ago in a car accident. Sorry, kid. Don't worry about it. Victoria continued her interrogation. Who are you living with now? Jacob said. I live alone. They left me a house in this town and some money to live on, so I moved here from New York yesterday. Jacob thought to himself. Well, my real parents were a doctor and a lawyer, and that's what my ID says even in this world. So even if Victoria does a background check on me, she'll find I was telling the truth. I don't really care about her, but if I want to be with Allison, I need Victoria to at least not get in the way for now, not until Allison falls in love with me. After that, she won't be able to break us apart, even if she knew what I am. Victoria said. How old are you? Can you live alone? Jacob replied. I'm 16 and a lawyer friend of my mom got me legal emancipation. So yeah, I can live alone. Victoria asked. Are you sure you can take care of yourself? Jacob said. Yes, Mrs. Argent. I grew up in an orphanage and people like me tend to grow up early. I've worked summers since I was 11 to earn money for things the orphanage couldn't provide. Allison, annoyed, said. Okay, Mom, that's enough of your questions. Victoria replied. I'm just trying to get to know your friend, sweetheart. Allison countered. Well, you're trying too hard, Mom. Victoria shook her head and focused on driving. When they arrived at Jacob's mansion, he offered. Thanks for the ride, Mrs. Argent. Want to come in for a drink? No, thank you. We need to get home. All right. See you tomorrow at school, Allison. Allison said. See you, and remember to wait for me at the school gate. Jacob said. You seem pretty sure you're going to be late. Allison smiled and said. I'm a girl. I need to look good on my first day at school, so I'll probably be late. Jacob said. Can't you just wake up early? Allison winked and said. No, I need my beauty sleep. Jacob shook his head and said. Good night, ladies. Then he got out of the car and walked toward his home. Victoria looked at her daughter and said. Do you like that boy? Allison rolled her eyes and said. We're just friends, Mom. Besides, we just met. Peter's POV. After the bear spray's effects eased, he decided to stop chasing Jacob. He went to a stream in the woods and washed off the bear spray. Then he went to a high hill overlooking the twinkling lights of Beacon Hills before shifting back to his human form. He thought to himself. Although I got myself a beta tonight, I don't know where that evil kid came from. The little bastard not only sprayed me and poked my eyes, he was also kicking my crotch so hard when he first bear sprayed me. A shudder ran through him. Thankfully, I don't have balls in my werewolf form. He muttered to the night air. Peter turned around and started walking back to the hospital, thinking. But I'm now interested in that evil kid. I should make him join my pack too, but only after beating his ass. And if he doesn't want to join my pack. His claws extended briefly. Well, I could always use another corpse to decorate these woods. After entering his house, Jacob went straight to the bathroom. He stripped off his clothes, took a quick shower, then filled the tub with hot water and sank in with a satisfied sigh. That fight with Peter was fun. He mused aloud. But if not for the bear spray, I would have been just a durable punching bag for him. Then Jacob shook his head and said. Let's not think about that anymore. System, I completed the quest of fighting Peter. Sign in now. Quest sign-in successful. Rewards obtained. Tom's speed potion, Tom and Jerry permanently boost speed by 5%. Excalibur knockoff, a normal sword that no one but you can lift. Ability black leg. Sanji, one piece you can use hockey but only on your right leg. Cooking skills max out. Side effects. Permanent curly eyebrows. Cannot harm any woman even if they try to kill you. Life-threatening nosebleeds when seeing cleavage. Jacob read the list of rewards and said, "The first one's good. The second might be useful someday." As he was reading the last reward, the ability black leg, at first he was excited, but when he read the side effect he stood up and shouted, "System, the black leg ability is just a curse. Delete it for me, can you do that?" "Yes, host. I can delete the abilities the host doesn't want, but you will get nothing in exchange. Besides, I can store the abilities the host doesn't want to merge with until you need them. Maybe you will need it one day." Jacob frowned. "System, if I merge this ability in my body, can I turn it on and off if I want to?" "No, host. It is a permanent ability. You can't turn it off and on, and after merging it into your body, you can't get rid of it for the rest of your life unless you get a reward that allows you to get rid of one of your abilities." Sinking back into the tub, Jacob groaned. "The hockey thing is cool, but I will not turn into a simp. System, delete that damn ability for me. I don't even want you to store it. What if I lost my mind someday and used it? Just the thought of that scares the shit out of me." "Are you sure, host, you want to delete the ability?" "Yes, I'm 1000% sure." Ability black leg deleted. After that, Jacob drank the speed potion and took the sword and played with it for a while before putting it back in his pocket dimension. Then he got out from the tub, dried himself, wore some sweatpants and a hoodie, and went to the kitchen and decided to cook. He took his phone, searched for some recipes and made them. Although he wasn't good at cooking, following the recipes wasn't that hard. After cooking he ate his dinner. Although it wasn't delicious, it was edible. After that, he went to play games until 2 a.m. then he went to sleep. The next day he woke up at 7 a.m., and after washing up, he went to the kitchen and took some cooked meals from his pocket dimension, and while he was eating he commanded, "System, sign in." Daily sign-in successful. Rewards obtained. Professional chef knife set. $500. Pen set. "Well, these rewards are useful, I guess," Jacob muttered. After finishing his breakfast he put on his clothes and drove to school. Scott's POV. Scott met Styles in front of the school and said, "I was bitten by something last night." Styles' eyes widened. "Let me see." Lifting his shirt, Scott revealed a bloody bite wound covered with white gauze and tape. "Pretty sure it was a wolf." "A wolf?" Styles scoffed. "No way. I heard a wolf howling." Styles shook his head. "That's impossible. There hasn't been any wolves in California in like 60 years. "Really?" "Yes, really. Maybe it was just a coyote." Scott sighed. "Well, if you don't believe me about the wolf, you're not going to believe me when I tell you I found the body." Styles nearly jumped in excitement. "Are you kidding me? I wish. I'm gonna have nightmares for months." "That's freaking awesome. I mean..." Styles spotted Lydia walking by and amended. "Best thing since Lydia Martin was born." Then he said loudly, "Hey Lydia. You look like you're just gonna ignore me?" Lydia didn't even look at him. She just walked past them and entered the school. Styles sighed. "By the way, what happened to the mugger?" "Do you mean Jacob?" "I don't know. After that thing bit me I just ran." "Do you think he's okay?" "What if that thing ate him?" Styles shrugged. "He's probably fine." "I hope so. Although he took my money, I don't want him to die. He seems like a fun dude to hang with." Styles said. "He said he will join our school. If we don't see him today, I'll tell my dad to look for him and see if he's okay. Now let's go, we're going to be late." Jacob's POV. After he arrived at the school, he parked his car and waited for Allison at the school entrance. After a while, a red SUV arrived and Allison came out of it, and a man got out too. "Okay, Dad, I can go by myself from here," Allison said. Chris Argent smiled. "How about I walk you to the principal's office, sweetheart?" Allison kissed his cheek. "Bye, Dad." She spotted Jacob and walked over. "Good morning, Jay." Chris started glaring at Jacob. "Good morning," Jacob muttered. "Let's leave quickly, your dad looks like he wants to kill me or something." Allison grinned, linking her arm with his. "Don't worry about him." She dragged him toward the school. "You're doing this on purpose," Jacob hissed. "You're making him angrier." Allison's smile turned mischievous. "Maybe." The two of them entered the school and Chris kept looking at Jacob and thought, "So that's the kid Victoria was talking about yesterday. I don't like him. He looks like trouble." Maybe I should find a chance to give him a warning to stay away from my little girl. Jacob and Allison were walking toward the principal's office and Jacob said, "I thought you were joking yesterday, but you really came late this morning." Allison sighed. "Well, it was actually your fault. I was dreaming about—" Jacob smirked and cut her off. "Say less. I understand. With how handsome I am, it's natural for you to dream about me all night. I get it and I apologize for my handsomeness." Allison rolled her eyes. "You narcissist. I wasn't dreaming about you, I was having nightmares about the bear that was chasing you yesterday. And I didn't sleep until late at night." "Sorry about that," Jacob said. "That thing was probably just too jealous of my handsomeness and thought that something as perfect as me shouldn't exist in this world. That's why it was chasing me and trying to kill me." Allison snorted. "No, I think it was just trying to eat your stupid ass. You sound jealous too." Scott, who was listening to them since they came to school with his new super hearing, wished he could punch Jacob in the face right now after hearing what he said and thought, "I was worried about that idiot for nothing. And like that girl just said, he is really a narcissist." In the principal's office, the principal looked at them and said, "You two are late." Allison said, "I'm sorry, sir." The principal turned to Jacob, who was casually examining the office. "And what about you, Mr. Alexander? Why are you late?" Jacob blinked. "That sexist principal. Why didn't you ask her why she was late?" "Because she apologized. And she didn't come into my office and ignore me and start looking around." "Oh." Jacob nodded. "Sorry about that. I was just thinking how depressing your office is, and I couldn't imagine what it would feel like spending Monday to Friday here. You should at least get some video games or something. And I was late because of her. Since you already forgave her, that means I'm forgiven too." The principal pinched his nose. "You really don't care that you're talking to your principal, do you?" "Correction, sir," Jacob said cheerfully. "I don't care about many things. Like the fact that our nose is always visible to us but we can't see it. Or the fact that the human body is a living environment for trillions of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Just imagine if I cared about that fact and started thinking about those things living inside of us. That would make me go crazy." Both the principal and Allison started thinking about what Jacob said, and Jacob saw them trying to look at their nose, and their eyes becoming cross-eyed and burst out laughing. Allison came back to her senses and pinched him. The principal cleared his throat. "Mr. Alexander, you seem like a troublemaker. I hope I won't see you in detention too often." "How many times is too often in a week, sir?" "Once is too often," Jacob said. "Then I will probably disappoint you, principal. I have ADHD, although mild, but it's still ADHD. At least that's what the shrink they sent me to at my last school said. And he also said I have NPD. But I don't believe I have anything like that. That shrink is probably crazy himself." Allison frowned. "NPD? What's that?" "Narcissistic personality disorder," the principal explained. Allison nodded. "I don't know about ADHD, but you're definitely a narcissist, Jay." Jacob smirked. "Come on, if you keep complimenting me like that I'll blush." Allison rolled her eyes. "Scumbag." Okay, the principal said, standing. "Let's go. I'll take you to class. You two are already late enough." The principal led Allison and Jacob to the class Scott and Styles were in. Once the three of them entered, the principal addressed the class. "Everyone, this is our new student, Allison Argent. Please do your best to make her feel welcome." Then, without another word, he turned and started walking out of the classroom. Jacob called after him. "Where are you going, sir? You didn't introduce me yet." The principal didn't stop. "You can introduce yourself, Mr. Alexander. And try not to make trouble for your teacher." After saying that, the principal closed the door behind him and left. Jacob glanced at Allison. That was rude. Allison just shook her head with a small smile. Jacob turned to the teacher. "Hello, teacher. Can I introduce myself?" The teacher nodded. "Go ahead." Jacob faced the class. "Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob Alexander. I just moved to town from New York. My favorite color is black. My hobbies are playing video games and watching movies and TV shows, and I like reading novels from time to time. Now you can ask questions." A girl immediately raised her hand. "Do you have a girlfriend?" Jacob smirked. "No. And you're not my type." "Next question." Styles and a few others burst into laughter while the girl huffed. "You're rude." Another student spoke up. "Are you going to join the lacrosse team?" Jacob shrugged. "No. I bruise like a peach, so lacrosse isn't for me. Besides, I'd rather flirt with girls than run around holding a stick with a bunch of sweaty dudes. That's just boring." Someone else pointed at Allison. What's your relationship with her? Jacob grinned. She's my wife, and we got here late because we couldn't find a nanny for our 6 kids. Allison, who was standing by his side, blushed and caught him by the arm and dragged him to the back empty seats while saying to the teacher, Sorry about him, sir. You can continue the lesson. If you let him talk, he'll never shut up. As they sat down, Allison whispered, I thought coming to class with you would make things less awkward, but you idiot made it worse. Now everyone's staring at us. This is embarrassing. Jacob smirked. Come on, Allison. You need to be more brave and stop caring about what people think of you. Besides, you have me as a friend and that's enough. You don't need to make friends with these losers. Allison hissed. Shh, you're too loud. They'll hear you. I don't care if they do, Jacob said. Allison sighed and focused on listening to the teacher, while Jacob scanned the room. His gaze landed on Lydia, who was watching him with interest. He smiled and winked at her. She returned the smile before turning her attention back to the lesson. Then Jacob spotted Styles sitting at the next table. Oh, if it isn't the traitor's Styles? Styles frowned. What do you mean? You left me and Scott behind in the woods and ran straight to your daddy, Jacob said. What? No, that's not what happened. Styles protested. Jacob raised an eyebrow. If I remember right, the 3 of us saw cops with flashlights ahead, so we hid. But then you suddenly bolted toward them like when a stupid moth sees light. If you weren't trying to find your dad, then why did you run toward the flashlights? Styles crossed his arms. I wasn't running toward the flashlights, I was trying to find the body before they did. But I got caught. Jacob opened his mouth to respond, but the teacher cut him off. Stilinski, Alexander, do you two have something to share with the rest of the class? Styles shook his head. Not really. The teacher glared. Then shut up and pay attention. After that, Jacob stopped causing trouble. He opened his book and tried, though not very hard, to focus on the lesson. After class, Jacob and Allison were standing by the lockers. Then Lydia came to them and extended a hand to Allison and said, Hi, I'm Lydia. Allison shook her hand. Hi, I'm Allison. Lydia smiled. I think you and I could be good friends. Best friends even. Jacob tilted his head. Hey, redhead, why are you ignoring me? Lydia crossed her arms. I heard you calling me a loser in class. Jacob blinked. Did I? I don't remember. You called all the students losers and told Allison not to make friends with us. Lydia said. Jacob waved a hand. I wasn't talking about you. I meant the rest of the class. Just then, Jackson slipped an arm around Lydia from behind. Including me, new kid. Jacob grinned. Definitely. Allison nudged him. He's just joking, aren't you, Jay? Jacob shrugged. No, I'm not. Jackson glared and Jacob smirked. Stop ogling me like that. I like girls. Jackson blinked, confused, and said, What? Jacob turned to Lydia. Is he always this slow? Lydia sighed. Okay, you two can stop it. By the way, I'm throwing a party this weekend. Allison said. A party? Jackson nodded. Yeah, Friday. All the lacrosse players will be there. I think you should come. He glanced at Jacob. Not sure about your friend, though? Jacob raised an eyebrow. Your boyfriend seems really excited about all the lacrosse guys being at the party. Are you sure he likes girls? Jackson sputtered. I was just saying she could find a hot boyfriend, that's all. Jacob smirked. So you think they're hot, huh? Lydia rolled her eyes. Jackson, shut up. Allison smiled. Well, I'm not looking for a boyfriend. And I doubt any of those guys is hotter than Jay. Jacob smoothed his hair. Thanks, Allison. I know I'm hot, but it's nice to hear it from time to time. Allison rolled her eyes and said, Although you're hot, you're also full of yourself, which makes you really hard to like sometimes. You narcissist. Jacob grinned. Thanks for the compliment again, Allison. She shook her head and turned back to Lydia. If Jay isn't welcome, then I'm not coming either. Lydia waved a hand. Of course he can come. Jacob groaned. Do we have to go? I'd rather stay home and play video games. Allison nudged him. I don't like parties either, but it might be fun. And you won't let me go alone, will you? Jacob sighed. Fine. But, redhead, you better prepare a lot of good food because I eat a lot. Lydia smiled. There'll be plenty. Don't worry. Now let's go watch the lacrosse practice. By the way, Jackson is the captain of the team. Jackson puffed his chest. We've won the state championship for the past 3 years. He waited for Jacob's reaction, but Jacob wasn't even paying attention to him. Instead, he waved at Styles and Scott, who lingered nearby. Hey guys. What's up? Come hang out with us. Styles whispered to Scott. What do we do? Scott shrugged. Let's go. We can be considered friends with the mugger. They approached, but before they could speak, Jackson scoffed. Why'd you call these nerds over? Jacob shot him a look. Because they're my friends. And if you don't want to hang out with them, then you can get lost. Then he gestured to Allison. Styles, Scott, this is Allison. Both boys nodded. Nice to meet you, Allison. Allison smiled warmly. Nice to meet you too. Then she glanced at Jacob curiously. When did you meet them? Yesterday. Jacob answered. When I went to the woods looking for the body. We met there and went together. Lydia's eyes widened. Did you see it? Me and Scott did. Jacob confirmed. Right before a crazy bear attacked us and we got separated. The bear chased me, but luckily Allison and her mom saved me. Scott frowned. Wait, you think it was a bear? I thought it was a wolf. Allison shook her head. That thing was definitely not a wolf. It was way too big. You saw it too? Scott asked, surprised. Allison nodded. Yes. My mom and I were driving when we almost hit Jay. Then that thing appeared from the woods. After Jay got in the car, my mom sped away, but it actually managed to keep up with us and was about to hit the car. Luckily, Jay used bear spray on it and it stopped chasing us. Are you sure it was a bear? Scott pressed. I'm not sure. Allison admitted. I didn't see it clearly. I only saw its glowing red eyes. Styles groaned. Damn, I didn't see the body or this bear wolf thing you're talking about. Why did I get caught by my dad? Jacob smirked. You didn't get caught. You ran to them and gave yourself up. No, that's not what happened. Styles protested. Scott, tell him. Scott scratched the back of his head sheepishly. I think Jacob's right, buddy. You did run toward the cops and left the two of us behind. That's not what happened. Styles insisted. Scott shrugged. It doesn't matter. Let's go or we are going to be late for the lacrosse tryout. Jacob, see you later. Jacob said. Good luck. After that, they went to the lacrosse field. Jacob sat with Allison and Lydia watching as Scott, playing goalie, stopped every shot. When Jackson took his turn, Scott blocked his attempt too. Lydia suddenly jumped up, cheering loudly. Jacob raised an eyebrow. Hey, are you cheering for Scott or your boyfriend? Lydia sat back down quickly. I'm cheering for Jackson, of course. Allison tilted her head. But he didn't score. Scott stopped the ball. Well, I'm just cheering for the team. Lydia said defensively. Allison glanced at the field. Your boyfriend doesn't seem to see it that way. He looks pissed. Lydia tilted her head and said, Does he? Allison just shook her head and didn't respond. After the game, they returned to class and finished their school day. Jacob, Styles, Allison, and Scott gathered outside when Chris pulled up in his car. Goodbye, guys. Allison said. And Jay, see you later, if I manage to escape from home. But from the look on my dad's face, I doubt that. Jacob nodded. Well, you know where to find me. But you should text me first in case I wasn't home. After Allison left, Jacob said his goodbyes to Scott and Styles and drove back to his mansion. It was nighttime. Jacob was at home watching anime when his phone rang. It was Allison and she sounded panicked. Jay, are you home? Come out. I'm outside. She said, her voice shaky. Jacob sat up. All right, I'm coming. He left his mansion, walked to the iron gate and opened it. There stood Allison, soaked by the rain and crying. He walked over to her, concerned. What's wrong? I was driving and I only took my eyes off the road for like 2 seconds. She stammered. And I hit. You hit someone? Jacob said calmly. And you want me to help you get rid of the body? All right. Wait here. I'll grab a shovel. We can bury it in the woods. Allison froze, shocked. Her tears stopped. What? No. I hit a dog. Oh. Jacob replied without missing a beat. Then let's go bury it. Allison's eyes narrowed. It's still alive. It's in my trunk. Jacob raised an eyebrow. Then why are you crying and panicking? You made me think you killed someone. I'm not crying. She said quickly. It's the rain. The rain. Jacob echoed. Yes. The rain wet my face. She insisted, clearly embarrassed. Jacob smirked. If you say so. Now show me the dog. Allison walked to the back of her car and opened the trunk. Here it is. It won't let me touch it. Jacob looked inside. Then how did you even get it in the car? She looked thoughtful. I actually don't remember. As Jacob approached, the dog whimpered and tried to back away. Jacob frowned. The dog's scared of me. No, not just scared, terrified. System, what's going on? Can it sense what I am? The host is a dragon, and dragons are the ultimate apex predators. Animals will naturally fear your aura. The stronger you get, the stronger and more dangerous your aura will become. If the host wishes to restrain it, simply think of restraining it. The same applies for activating it, just like summoning your claws. Jacob thought about suppressing his aura. Instantly the dog stopped whimpering. It worked, he thought. He gently reached out and patted the dog. It's going to be okay. We just need to take it to an animal clinic. Okay, Allison said with relief. Let's go then. Jacob shook his head. No. You need to change those wet clothes or you'll catch a cold. Go take a hot shower at my place and wear something dry. Grab something from my closet. I'll take the dog to the clinic. But I need to come with you. Allison protested. What you need is warmth and dry clothes. Jacob said firmly, handing her the mansion key. Here, take it. And give me your car keys. Reluctantly, she handed him her car keys and took his. Hurry up and go inside, Jacob said. You're shaking from the cold. He got into her car and began driving toward the nearest animal clinic. As he drove, he thought to himself, well, I've completely blocked Scott from having any chance with Allison now. Then he asked, System, can you explain more about my charm ability? Certainly, host. Your charm ability attracts potential mates. As your power grows, so will your charm. However, it's still weak at the moment, so you'll need to spend time with the girls you're interested in for the charm to take effect. So I have to work hard to earn their love. Jacob thought. Fair enough. After driving for a few minutes, Jacob arrived at the animal clinic where Scott worked. He carried the injured dog to the door and knocked. Soon Scott opened it. Jacob? What's going on? This dog was hit by a car, Jacob said. So I brought it here. Come in. Scott replied quickly. Let me take a look. Jacob stepped inside and followed him. He placed the dog on a table while Scott examined it. I think it has a broken leg, Scott said as he gently checked the limb. He immediately began treating the injury. Jacob glanced around the clinic. So this is Deaton's animal clinic, he thought. Then he asked, Scott, is this your family's clinic? No, Scott said. I just work part-time here. I love animals and I think I want to be a veterinarian. Jacob smirked. You mean like sticking your hand inside cows and stuff like that? Scott stared at him wide-eyed. No, I mean treating animals. I like helping and taking care of them. Jacob chuckled. Don't worry, I'm not judging. Scott sighed. Like I said, I love working with animals. And, never mind. Do you want to take the dog with you or leave it here? Leave it here, Jacob replied. There was a moment of hesitation before Scott asked. By the way, do you really think that thing from yesterday was a bear? Jacob shrugged. I'm not sure. It didn't look like any animal I've ever seen. The closest thing I could think of was a bear. But it was howling, Scott said, clearly unsettled. Maybe it was crazy, Jacob said. Ate some bad mushrooms or something. Or maybe we saw a Sasquatch. Scott blinked. Hey, what? You know, Bigfoot, Jacob said, half joking. Scott shook his head. That thing definitely wasn't Bigfoot. It was walking on all fours. I saw it standing, Jacob said. It was at least 8 feet tall. Scott finished bandaging the dog and said, I don't know what that thing was, but I know I never want to see it again. Good luck with that, Jacob thought. You may not want to see him again, but Peter's obsessed with you, and I don't even know why. He could just make more betas. I'm done treating the dog, Scott said. She'll be fine. Jacob patted the dog gently. Thanks. He pulled $100 bill from his pocket and handed it to Scott. What's this for? Scott asked. For treating the dog, Jacob said. You don't need to pay, Scott replied, shaking his head. Just take it, Jacob insisted. You work here because you love animals, sure, but also because you need the extra money, right? Scott opened his mouth to protest, but Jacob cut him off. Don't worry, I'm not judging you. I actually respect you for it. Now take the money. It's not charity, it's for the dog. But just so you know, next time I need your help, I'm not paying. Scott hesitated for a moment, then nodded and took the money. Then if you ever need help treating an animal, come to me. I'll do my best. Jacob gave the dog one last pat. All right. I need to head home. See you tomorrow at school. Yeah, man. See you, Scott said with a smile. Jacob left the clinic and drove back to his mansion. When he stepped inside, he found Allison sitting on a chair next to the fireplace, wearing his clothes, a pair of sweatpants and a hoodie. She looked at Jacob and asked, "How's the dog?" Jacob pulled up a chair and sat next to her. "She's fine. Her leg was broken, but she'll recover." It was actually Scott who treated her. "Scott from school?" she asked. Jacob nodded. "Yeah. Turns out he works at an animal clinic." "Well, thank you," Allison said softly. "I panicked. I didn't know what to do, so I just drove here and brought the dog to you." Jacob grinned and teased. "You didn't just panic, you were crying, and I'm pretty sure there was snot coming out of your nose. It was kinda ugly." Allison pouted. "Hey, that's rude." "I cried, sure, but there was no snot." "If you say so," Jacob said with a smirk. Allison snorted. "You're an idiot. I thought I killed a dog, I was scared. And instead of comforting me, you're making fun of me." Jacob raised an eyebrow. "Allison, you almost killed that poor dog. Instead of comforting you, I think you need a spanking, so next time you'll actually pay attention while driving." "I'm not a kid," she huffed. "Besides, it was the stupid dog's fault." "How noble of you," Jacob said. "Blaming the victim." "I'm not talking to you anymore," she said, turning her head away. Jacob chuckled, stood up, and headed toward the kitchen. "Where are you going?" Allison asked. "I'm hungry," Jacob said. "I want to eat something and keep watching my anime." Allison followed him. "Anime? Are you a little kid?" "Anime aren't for kids," Jacob said. "Want to watch one with me? But I don't recommend a romance anime though." "Why not?" As he started making hot chocolate, he replied. "Because they're kind of gross. Either the main character is too shy, or he's secretly in love with a girl but can't confess, or he is dense. Also, the Japanese have this weird thing about touching hands. I mean, it takes a full season or even a few seasons for them to just hold hands." Allison laughed. "Well, I don't know anything about anime, but I could watch a movie with you. Not tonight though, it's getting late. You should try watching anime. Maybe you'll like it," Jacob said. "I'll give it a try," she said with a smile. Jacob handed her a cup of hot chocolate. "Here, drink this." Then he opened a cabinet filled with snacks. "What do you want? Oreos, Snickers, or chocolate chip cookies?" "Chocolate chip cookies, please." They went back to the fireplace and chatted while eating snacks. After a while, Allison said, "I should probably head home. If I stay out too long, my mom will ground me." "Okay," Jacob said, getting up. He walked her out to her car. As she was about to drive off, she looked at him and said, "Good night. And thanks for the dog thing." "You're welcome," Jacob said. "And please make sure you pay attention on the way home. Don't hit another dog." Allison snorted. "Idiot." Then she drove away. Jacob smiled, closed the iron gate, and headed back inside to continue watching anime. Later that night, after dealing with her mom's endless questions, Allison went up to her room. She opened her laptop, put on her headphones, and searched popular anime to watch. "I'm only doing this to see what that idiot likes so much about it," she told herself. "Yes, this is for research." But before she knew it, she was hooked, and kept watching until she fell asleep. The next morning, Jacob woke up feeling refreshed. After washing up and having breakfast, he sat down and said, "System, sign in. Daily sign-in successful. Rewards obtained. A bucket of honey chicken wings. $200. A frying pan." Jacob stared at the list and shook his head. At least there is nothing weird mixed in the rewards again. Then he drove to school. When he arrived, he met up with Styles, and not long after, Allison showed up too. Jacob looked at her and said, "You don't look so good. Didn't sleep enough?" Allison yawned. "It's your fault." Jacob grinned. "Oh, you dreamed about me all night again? Then I'm sorry that my handsomeness kept you awake." Styles burst out laughing. Allison rolled her eyes. "No, idiot. I didn't dream about you. After I got home, I watched anime to see if it's really as good as you said. Next thing I knew, it was 2 a.m. But I couldn't stop watching, so I just kept watching until I fell asleep. I think I slept just an hour or two." Jacob raised an eyebrow. "What anime did you watch?" "I don't remember the name," Allison said. "But it was a high school romance. I really liked it." Jacob made a face. "Ugh, romance anime? Disgusting." Allison smiled sweetly. "I don't care. I liked it." Jacob turned to Styles. "What about you? Do you like anime?" "I'm more of a comic guy," Styles said. "I like DC and Marvel, but yeah, I watch Naruto and One Piece." "Nice." Jacob nodded. "Naruto and One Piece are great. But I don't really like DC and Marvel comics all that much." Styles looked at Jacob like he'd just committed a crime. "What? Why not? Don't get me wrong, Jacob said. I like them. But DC is too messed up. Like every now and then, the Flash screws things up by traveling through time, or how Superman is too soft on his enemies, or the fact that Batman doesn't kill his enemies. Marvel's kind of the same, too many dimensions and alternate universes. I especially hated how the X-Men were treated. And don't even get me started on Charles Xavier, he's too soft. Jacob paused, then smirked. Actually, I think I do love DC and Marvel. What I hate is time travel and soft heroes. Styles nodded. Yeah, that can be annoying sometimes. Allison jumped in. Didn't you watch the Dark Knight movie? I thought it was really good. It was great. Styles agreed. Jacob said. Yeah, I saw it. My favorite character was the Joker. He was the best. Just then Scott came and said, Morning guys. What are you talking about? Anime and comics. Jacob replied casually. Scott raised a brow. Isn't that kid stuff? Before anyone could answer, Lydia strolled over. Hey Allison. What are you guys talking about? Styles stuttered and said nervously. Comics and... Lydia cut him off. Are you little kids or something? Jacob snorted and threw an arm over Styles' shoulders. Come on Styles. Let's not waste our time talking to uncultured people. As they turned around and started walking into the school, Jacob asked, Now tell me, who is your favorite DC girl and Marvel girl? Styles said with a perverted smile. Catwoman and Spider-Woman would be on the top of my list. Jacob had the same smile as Styles and said, Nice. I like the way you think. They're both very flexible. Allison snorted. Perverts. Lydia narrowed her eyes at Jacob. So Jacob, do you like flexible girls? Yeah, but I also like a lot of types of girls. As long as they are beautiful and not loose girls, then I will like them. Jacob said with a smirk. Lydia started biting her nail and said, Is that so? Allison looked at her suspiciously. Hey, don't you already have a boyfriend? Lydia shrugged. I do. Why are you asking? No, why are you asking Jacob about his type? I was asking for you, obviously. Lydia said innocently. Besides, it doesn't hurt to have options. I can take care of myself. I don't need you asking for me, Allison said, rolling her eyes. Scott, who had been walking silently beside Allison and Lydia, scratched the back of his head awkwardly. Not sure what to say, he quietly slipped away and followed Jacob and Styles into the classroom. And just like that, a few days passed. Jacob and Allison often hung out with Styles and Scott during school hours. Lydia would occasionally join them, and with each passing day she seemed more and more interested in Jacob. Of course, Jackson didn't like that one bit. He avoided hanging out with them entirely and more than once tried to convince Lydia to stay away from Jacob. This, of course, only led to the two of them arguing more and more. It had been 3 days. Jacob kept signing into the system, but the rewards were either just cash, basic tools, or strange items, like a pair of dirty socks from some anime girl. He immediately burned those in his backyard without hesitation. Now he was walking toward the lacrosse field with Allison, Scott, and Styles. Scott said, Just now, when I was putting on my lacrosse gear, Jackson came up to me and asked where I buy my juice. Styles blinked. Doesn't His Highness know where us commoners buy juice? Jacob smirked. He wasn't talking about normal juice, was he, Scott? Scott shook his head. Yeah, he meant steroids. He thinks I'm juicing. Styles turned to him, raising a brow. Well, he have a point. You've been amazing on the field lately, and you don't even need your inhaler anymore. Scott shrugged. Maybe it's just puberty. Anyway, let's get going. I'm definitely getting picked by coach today. He dashed toward the field, calling back. See you guys later. Styles chased after him. Jacob watched them go, thinking to himself. I just listened to Scott's heartbeat. He wasn't lying. He really thinks this is all puberty. How clueless can someone be? Super strength, reflexes, hearing, and he still doesn't get it. Allison's voice broke his thoughts. What are you thinking about? Jacob turned to her. I was just wondering what video game we're going to play after school. Sorry, I can't come over today, Allison said. My mom wants me to stay home. Maybe you should invite Scott and Styles. Jacob sighed. Maybe. They probably don't eat as much as you do. Allison rolled her eyes. Are you still upset because I ate the last wing of those delicious honey wings yesterday? Yes. Jacob said flatly. I was saving that big juicy wing for last and you monster ate it. Allison smirked. You know what? I'm not even angry because you called me a monster. That wing was really delicious. Jacob said. Damn it, I'm not talking to you anymore. Then he walked to the lacrosse field. Allison laughed and followed him and said, "Come on, don't be angry. I'll buy you more wings tomorrow." "No, wait, tomorrow we are going to Lydia's party." "Okay, Saturday then." Jay, wait up." They stood together watching Scott play lacrosse. "He's good," Allison said. "Really good." And Jackson looked super pissed. "Hey Jay, why don't you go play? It looks fun." Jacob shook his head. "No thanks. Look at me. I'm way too delicate to play something that rough." Allison gave him a look. "Delicate? You're taller than Jackson and Scott. And honestly, you look stronger than both of them. I've seen you in a t-shirt at home, you've got a very muscular body." Jacob grinned. "What do you know? My muscles are only for show. I only built them to attract girls." Allison rolled her eyes. "Idiot." After school, Jacob and his friends gathered in front of the school. Soon, Chris Argent pulled up to pick up Allison. He glared at Jacob and said, "Allison, let's go." Allison waved to the group. "Bye guys. See you tomorrow." Once she left, Styles turned to the others. "Guys, I want you to come over to my place. There's something we need to talk about." Just then, a system window appeared in front of Jacob's eyes. Available sign in. Location sign in. Host can sign in inside Styles' room. Quest. Host can sign in after telling Scott the truth about him being a werewolf. Note, host can refuse the quest. However, since Scott is not in love with Allison, he lacks an emotional anchor. There is a high risk he may lose control during tomorrow's full moon, possibly killing Styles or someone else. Jacob thought to himself, well, they're going to find out about the supernatural world tomorrow anyway. And I think Styles already knows, or at least he's 80% sure Scott is a werewolf. Besides, I can't let Scott kill Styles or someone else. I'll tell them the truth, and I'll tell them that I'm a shapeshifter too, but I'll say I don't know what kind. Styles looked back. Jacob? You coming or not? Yeah, sure. Jacob said casually. I don't know where you live, so lead the way. I'll follow in my car. With that, Styles and Scott got into the Jeep and drove off. And Jacob followed behind in his car.
Hey there, novel lovers. I know it's not the usual thing, but if you enjoy what you're hearing, please like and subscribe. Okay, shameless plug over. Now, let's get back to the listening.
Styles, Scott, and Jacob drove to Styles' house. When they arrived, they parked their cars and Styles invited them inside. Scott asked, So, what's going on, Styles? What do you want to tell us? Is it another one of your conspiracy theories again? Styles replied, Let's go to my room first. As they entered Styles' room, Jacob looked around. Books and papers were scattered all over the floor. He walked over to Styles' desk, picked up a black and white printed photo, raised an eyebrow and said, Styles, I didn't know you were into necrophilia. What? No, I'm not. Styles snapped. Jacob held up the photo of Laura's dead, naked body and said, Then why do you have a picture of a dead naked girl? And it's not even a full body. Styles snatched the picture back. I stole it from my dad's office. You and Scott saw her in the woods, I had to see it too. And I don't have any weird hobbies. Scott, back me up here. Scott shrugged. I don't know, man. Growing up, you did show me a lot of dead body pictures. Some of those gave me nightmares. Styles groaned. Anyway, I don't have any weird hobbies. I just like helping my dad with his cases. Jacob sat down on the bed and said silently in his mind, System, sign in. Location, sign in successful. Rewards obtained. Bestiary, an encyclopedia of all the supernatural creatures in the Teen Wolf world. The Joker's laughing bomb, 20 bombs, a gas bomb that causes anyone who inhales it to laugh maniacally for 30 seconds. Batman. 10 senza beans, expired, heals all injuries and removes poison, but causes uncontrollable farting for 10 minutes. Dragon Ball. Jacob saw the rewards and thought, the bestiary's going to be useful. The bombs are fun, but the last reward is hilarious. Now, who should I give one of those expired beans to? Oh, I remember, Derek got shot by Kate. Then it's decided, it's him. The mental image of Derek farting uncontrollably for 10 straight minutes made Jacob burst out laughing, startling both Styles and Scott. Styles stared at him. What's wrong with you, bastard? You scared us. Wiping tears from his eyes, Jacob said. Nothing. Allison just sent me a funny text. So, Styles, what were you saying? Styles narrowed his eyes at Jacob, clearly suspicious, but shook his head and continued. I was saying I want to talk about the body you guys saw in the woods. Scott asked. Did they find out who did it? Styles shook his head. No, they're still questioning people. Even Derek Hale. Scott blinked. The guy we saw in the woods the other day? Yeah, him. But that's not the point, okay? Then what is? Remember that joke I made the other day? Styles said. Well, it's not a joke anymore. Scott said. Styles, you tell a lot of jokes. You're gonna have to be more specific. Styles took a breath. The wolf. The bite in the woods. Jacob raised his hand. Hold up, what wolf? What bite are you talking about? Scott hesitated. That night in the woods, the thing you thought was a bear? It bit me. But I'm fine now. No, you're not. Styles said seriously. Do you even know why wolves howl? Scott frowned. Am I supposed to? It's the signal. When a wolf is alone, it howls to tell the pack where it is. So if you heard one howl, that means a whole pack might be out there. Jacob watched silently as the tension grew. Scott asked, a pack of wolves? Styles hesitated before replying. No. A pack of werewolves? Scott stared. Is this a joke, Styles? Because it's not funny. This isn't a joke. Styles said quickly. I saw you on the field today. You were incredible. The way you moved, your reflexes, and like I said before, you don't even need your inhaler anymore. And don't tell me it's puberty because... Scott cut him off, suddenly angry. He stood up. You're wasting my time, Styles. Just when things are finally going right for me, when I'm finally good at something, you're trying to ruin it. I'm trying to help. Styles said. Do I look like I need help to you, Styles? Or are you just jealous? Jacob, who had been quietly watching the argument, finally stood up and said. Scott, that's enough. Calm down and think about what you just said. I don't know you guys that well, but I heard you and Styles say you've grown up together. So, tell me, Scott, do you really think Styles would be jealous of you? Scott, who had been on the verge of losing control, paused. He took a deep breath, thought about it for a moment, then sat back down. He looked at Styles and said, I'm sorry, man. I'm finally good at something, and it felt like you were trying to take that away from me. Styles sighed and replied, That's not what I'm trying to do, Scott. Like I said, I'm trying to help. Tomorrow is a full moon. Scott cut him off. Are you still going on about werewolves? Jacob stepped in. Well, I hate to say it, but Styles is right. Scott turned his glare to Jacob. You too? You said that thing in the woods was a bear. I lied. Jacob said simply. I didn't think you were bitten. That thing wasn't a bear and we both know it. Scott stood up again, frustrated. I'm done listening to you guys. I'm going home. Jacob stopped him. Scott, show me the bite. Scott hesitated. It healed without even leaving a scar, didn't it? Jacob asked. That doesn't mean any tea. It means everything. Jacob cut him off. You can hear things you shouldn't be able to, like how fast Styles' heartbeat is right now. You can smell things no human can. You're stronger, faster. Don't tell me you haven't noticed. Scott sank back down into his seat, clearly panicking. I did notice. But if what you're saying is true, then what's going to happen to me? Styles said grimly. You're cursed, Scott. You'll turn into a mindless beast every full moon and kill anything in your path. And it's not just the full moon. If you get angry enough, it can happen. Jacob interrupted with a laugh. All right, Styles, that's enough. Don't scare the poor wolf to death. Not everything you read on the internet is right. Do you have a box cutter? Styles blinked. Yeah. He pulled one from his desk and handed it to Jacob. What do you want it for? I want to prove to Scott that he has supernatural powers. Before Scott could react, Jacob grabbed his hand and slashed it with the box cutter, making a deep cut across the back of his hand. Oh, what are you doing? Scott shouted, flinching in pain. Scott, look. Styles said, pointing. Scott looked down and watched in shock as the wound began to heal rapidly. Within seconds it was completely gone. Styles' eyes were wide. That was awesome. Scott stared at Jacob. You didn't have to do that. Jacob shrugged. I kind of did. Now you know for sure, you're a werewolf. Styles looked at Jacob curiously. You don't seem too surprised by any of this, and it seems like you know more about werewolves than the internet. Are you a werewolf, Jacob? Jacob shook his head. No, I'm not. But I'm a shapeshifter too, I just don't know what kind. Then his eyes glowed golden with reptilian slits. His fangs extended, and his nails turned into black and sharp claws. He growled low in his throat like a wild beast. Styles and Scott jumped into the corner of the room, clinging to each other in terror. Jacob laughed. Relax. I'm not going to hurt you. Styles, still shaken, was the first to approach him. Can I see your claws? Jacob showed his hand to Styles, who immediately took it and began examining the black claws with fascination. Then he looked up into Jacob's glowing eyes. "Your eyes, they look reptilian," Styles said. "I know," Jacob said, pulling his hand back. "I just don't know what kind yet." Styles sat back on his chair and muttered, "Well, you're probably a snake. Because snakes are evil, and you're not exactly a good person." Jacob shifted back to his normal form and smirked. "Thanks for the compliment." Scott walked over and treat. "Can I do that too? The claws, the eyes, the fangs?" Jacob looked at him seriously. "Yes, but you'll need to learn how to control yourself first." Scott's expression turned worried. "Am I going to lose control? Hurt people?" Jacob nodded. "Yeah, especially on full moon nights. But don't worry, you just have to train yourself to manage the transformation." "What if I can't?" Scott asked, his voice trembling. "What if I hurt my mom?" "You might," Jacob said honestly. "But controlling yourself isn't as hard as you think." Scott hesitated, then asked, "Is there a cure? Can I be healed?" Jacob shook his head. "No, there's no cure." Scott, panicking and scared, suddenly froze as a thought struck him. He turned to Jacob and said, "Wait a minute. You knew what that thing in the woods was. You're like it, right? You could have saved me. Why didn't you? Now I'm a monster. I might hurt my mom or Styles or kill someone. This is all your fault." Jacob frowned. "Are you stupid? I couldn't save you from that thing even if I tried." Scott's breathing grew heavy and anger began to take over. "Why?" he shouted. "Was it because that thing was your friend?" "Scott, calm down," Styles said, stepping forward and placing a hand on Scott's shoulder. But it was too late. Scott lost control. His eyes glowed a fierce yellow, and his claws extended as he turned toward Styles, rage in his expression. He raised his clawed hand and swung at his best friend. Before the strike landed, Jacob moved with blinding speed. He caught Scott's arm midair. "That's enough," he growled. Scott snarled and turned on Jacob, trying to get free from his grip, but Jacob was stronger. With one swift move, he twisted Scott's arm behind his back and with his other hand snapped one of Scott's fingers. Scott screamed in pain. The sudden pain made his body shift back to normal, and his broken finger began to heal instantly. Jacob released him and said, "Pain makes you human. If you ever feel like you're losing control, hurt yourself." He then turned to Styles. "You all right, man?" Styles, still pale from shock, nodded slowly. "Yeah. I thought I was dead for a second, but I'm all right." After calming down, Scott said, "I almost hurt Styles. Why didn't you save me that night from that monster?" Jacob replied, "Whoever that werewolf was, he wasn't my friend. I just got here from New York, remember? And that thing was an alpha werewolf, way stronger than me. I couldn't possibly stop it from biting you. Besides, I didn't even know you were bitten. I heard you scream, and by the time I looked down the hill, you were already running away and the werewolf started chasing me." Jacob narrowed his eyes. "Now stop acting like a little bitch and man up. We're friends, but I've got no problem whooping your ass. I hate people who blame others for their own problems the most." Scott looked down and muttered, "I'm sorry." Trying to change the subject, Styles asked, "What's an alpha? Is it like the leader of a pack or something?" Jacob nodded. "Yes, but more than that. There are 3 types of werewolves. Omegas are the weakest, and Scott is an omega now. They are werewolves without a pack. Then there are the betas. They are werewolves who have a pack, and the leader of the pack is called an alpha." He paused before continuing. "Unlike omegas and betas' yellow or blue glowing eyes, the alpha's eyes glow red. The alpha is way stronger than the omegas and betas, and he can give the bite." Styles blinked. "The bite?" Jacob nodded. "Yeah. The bite of an alpha can either turn someone into a shapeshifter, or kill them." Scott's eyes widened. "What? Kill them?" "Yep," Jacob said bluntly. "But you don't have to worry, you've already turned." Styles asked, "Does Allison know about werewolves too? Is she like you?" Jacob's expression turned serious. "Whatever you do, don't let Allison find out Scott's a werewolf, if you want him to live longer." Styles frowned. "Why?" "Because Allison's family are hunters." Scott looked up. "What kind of hunters?" Jacob replied, "Werewolf hunters. The kind that kill werewolves by shooting them with guns, rifles, and poisoning them with wolfsbane, you name it. They even cut werewolves in half with swords. Sure, they have a code not to kill innocent werewolves, but don't count on them all following it." Styles asked, "Then why are you friends with Allison?" "I've got my own reasons," Jacob said. Besides, she doesn't know anything about the supernatural, or that her family hunts werewolves. Jacob turned to Scott. I know you're scared, but the bite isn't a curse, it's a gift. Don't be afraid of what you've become. Accept that power and use it. Scott hesitated. Are you sure there's no cure? Jacob paused, then said, Actually, there is one. Scott leaned forward, hopeful. Really? Yeah. Jacob said with a smirk. Death. Death is your only cure. Scott groaned. Damn it. I got excited for nothing. Styles looked at Jacob. Can you help Scott control himself? Jacob nodded. Yeah, I can try. Scott asked. How are you going to help me? Jacob smiled wickedly. Simple. I beat you until you can control yourself. That's all there is to it. I'll push you until you lose control, beat you until you regain it, then do it again. And again. By the time I'm done, you'll be able to stay in control, even during a full moon. Scott narrowed his eyes. Why do I feel like you just want to beat me up? You're overthinking it. Jacob said. Oh, and I forgot, there's something else. You need an anchor. It's someone you love, someone to think about when you're losing control. As long as you have that anchor, you won't give in to the beast. He glanced at Styles. Maybe Styles could be your anchor. Scott and Styles exchanged an awkward look. Then Scott shook his head quickly. No. I'll think of my mom. Jacob smirked. Are you sure? You and Styles seem pretty close. Scott scoffed. I'm sure. Besides, if I ever made him my anchor, I'd probably just lose control even more. I grew up with him, I know him better than anyone. Sometimes I get the urge to beat his ass. Styles looked offended. Come on, man. I'm not that bad, right? I mean, sure, I like pranks and jokes, but I never crossed the line. Scott shrugged. I don't know. Sometimes when you start talking, all I hear is, punch me in the face, come on, I dare you. Jacob burst out laughing. He's right, Styles. You've got one of those faces. Styles snorted. You're the one to talk, you hateful, evil snake. Jacob flashed him a wicked grin. Like Scott said, what I just heard is, punch me in the face as hard as you can. Styles quickly hid behind Scott. Don't. If you punch me, you'll kill me. Jacob chuckled and stood up. All right, guys. I need to head home. I'm starving. Then he gave his address to Styles and Scott and said, Scott, if you want help learning control, come to my place. I'll gladly beat your ass. After saying that, Jacob walked out of the room. If you decide to come, give me a call and let me know. See you guys later. Scott and Styles moved to the window and watched Jacob get into his car and drive off. Styles turned to Scott. Are you going to go to his house? Scott thought for a moment. I have to. Tomorrow's the full moon. I don't want to hurt anyone. Styles nodded. Yeah, I think you should go too. Besides, he's the only one who can help us, and although he's not a good person, I think we can trust him. We can also ask him more about the supernatural world. Scott sighed. To be honest, I'm scared. My whole life changed all of a sudden. I'm a werewolf now. There are other supernatural creatures out there, like whatever Jacob is. And don't forget about the hunters. Styles raised his hands. Okay. Don't panic. Jacob isn't here. What if you lose control? Besides, like Jacob said, the bite is a gift. It gave you all these cool superpowers. Scott muttered. Powers I didn't ask for. Styles rolled his eyes. You looked very happy using them today in the lacrosse field. And weren't you the one always bitching that nothing ever happens in this town? Scott gave a tired sigh. Anyway, let's eat something and then head to Jacob's house, so I can get my ass kicked. Styles patted him on the shoulder. That's the spirit. Meanwhile, as Jacob was driving home. System. Jacob said. I completed the quest of telling Scott he's a werewolf. Sign in. Quest sign-in successful. Rewards obtained. A 100-bowl set of Ichiraka ramen Naruto. A can of Popeye's spinach, instantly triples your strength for 3 minutes. A Harley-Davidson Sportster 883. Jacob grinned. Nice. All good rewards, especially the bike. When he got to his mansion, he parked his car and summoned the Harley-Davidson Sportster 883 from his pocket dimension. It was a sleek, beautiful black motorcycle. What a gorgeous bike. Jacob muttered. I should take it for a ride, but first food. He stepped inside and tried the Ichiraka ramen. He liked it and ate 5 bowls. Then he grilled some Sea King meat and devoured that too. With his stomach full, Jacob flopped down and started watching anime to digest. About an hour later, his phone rang. Styles, hey, are you home? We're coming over. Jacob, yeah, I'm here. I'll be waiting. Styles and Scott pulled up in front of Jacob's mansion and parked the Jeep. Moments later, Jacob stepped outside, opened the iron gate and walked toward them. Hey guys. So, Scott, you decided to come. Scott nodded. Yeah. I don't want to hurt anyone, so I have to learn control. Jacob gave him a wicked smile. Alright then. Let's start right away. Scott raised an eyebrow. I don't like that smile of yours. What are you planning? I'm trying to help you, of course. Jacob replied innocently. Now, I want you to run as fast as you can to the front door of my house. I want to see how fast you are. Still suspicious, Scott asked. Why do you want to test my speed? In case you lose control and try to run away. Jacob said, crossing his arms. I need to know if I can catch you or not. Now stop asking stupid questions and run. Scott sighed, then took off running at full speed. But just as he was about to cross the iron gate, he slammed into an invisible barrier and bounced back violently, flying past Jacob and Styles before crashing to the ground. Jacob burst out laughing uncontrollably while Styles stood there, wide-eyed. What was that? Scott groaned, blood dripping from his nose. He got up, stormed toward Jacob and grabbed him by the collar. You bastard. You did that on purpose, didn't you? Jacob was still laughing even as Scott shook him. Enraged, Scott tried to punch him, but Jacob dodged, slipping out of his grip and hiding behind Styles. Wiping tears from his eyes, Jacob grinned. Sorry, I wanted to test if the barrier around my house actually works, and you're the only supernatural creature I know. Explain. Scott demanded. As you just saw. Jacob said. There's a barrier around my house that keeps out supernatural beings. Don't ask me how it was put there or who did it, I don't know. But since I inherited the house, I can control the barrier. So without my permission, no supernatural creature can enter my house. A magical barrier? Styles blinked. So, magic is real too? Jacob shrugged. I guess so. Anyway, go ahead and drive the Jeep in. Styles got back into the Jeep and drove it through the gate. Jacob looked at Scott, who was still angry, and said, Come on man, let's go in. Seeing that Scott was still standing there, Jacob added, Don't worry, you can get in now, the barrier won't stop you. Jacob walked inside the iron gate and called back. Close the gate behind you. Scott hesitated for a moment before following. The barrier didn't stop him this time. He sighed, shut the iron gate, and walked over to Jacob and Styles, who were waiting for him in front of the mansion. Hey Jacob. Styles asked. Are your parents home? Are they like you? No. Jacob said casually. I live alone. I'm an orphan. My parents died 8 years ago, and I inherited this mansion from them. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't worry about it. Jacob said, cutting him off. Now, let's head to the backyard to train Scott. As they walked, Scott asked, Jacob, can I set up a barrier like yours around my house? I don't know about a barrier like mine. Jacob replied. But there's another kind called a mountain ash barrier. You have to keep it open and only close it when you want to trap a shapeshifter or keep them out. Unlike mine, you can't control it at will. Styles said. What do you mean by keeping it open? You make a circle, but leave a gap. You only close it when you need to. Jacob explained. Scott frowned. Where do we even get mountain ash? You can buy it from a druid. Jacob said. Or make it yourself. Just find a mountain ash tree, also known as a rowan tree, burn it and collect the ash. We can go looking for one in the woods later and make a simple circle around your houses. If you want something more professional though, you'll need a druid. A druid? Styles asked. Is that like a mage? Sort of. Jacob said. They're healers and keepers of balance between the supernatural and human worlds. They know about supernatural creatures, magical herbs, rituals and stuff like that. That's about all I know about them. And where are we supposed to find one? Scott asked. Jacob thought to himself. Deaton is one, but I'm not telling them that. Then he shrugged. No idea. In the backyard. Scott, Styles, and Jacob stood in the wide backyard of Jacob's mansion. Styles glanced around and asked, What if your neighbors hear Scott when he loses control and starts howling, growling, or whatever werewolves do? Jacob shook his head. Don't worry. The houses around here are far apart, and most of them are empty anyway. Now. He grinned wickedly. Let's start beating the dog. Scott frowned, already regretting this. Hey, I'm not a dog. I'm a wolf. Jacob smirked. Same thing. No, it's not. Scott looked at Styles and added. By the way, stay away. In case I lose it and attack you. Styles nodded and backed off. Scott turned to Jacob's side and said, All right. I'm ready. So what do I do? Jacob cracked his knuckles and grinned like a supervillain. You're going to try shifting. And when you lose control, I'm going to beat you until you either master your new powers, or die trying. Scott blinked. Wait, what? Styles gave Jacob a thumbs up. Don't go easy on him. I'll be watching the show from the side. Scott turned to him. I thought we were friends. Styles shrugged. We are. This is for your own good. Jacob clapped his hands. All right. Step 1, try to shift. Scott asked. How do I do that? Jacob replied. I don't really know. For me, it's like moving a hand or blinking. It's instinct. Styles raised an eyebrow. It's that easy? Jacob nodded. Yeah. Scott, don't overthink it, just let it happen. Scott concentrated for a while, but nothing happened. Frustrated, he said, I can't. Jacob smirked. Then it's time for Plan B. Scott narrowed his eyes. What's Plan B? Jacob lunged forward. I beat your ass until you shift. He punched Scott in the face, not hard enough to knock him out but enough to hurt. Then he followed up with more strikes and kicks. Scott tried to block but he was too slow. Pain and adrenaline started bubbling up. His eyes glowed, he began to growl, and finally he shifted and fought back. After a few intense moments, Jacob paused. Scott, are you in control? Scott didn't answer. He attacked again. Jacob countered with a strong punch to Scott's chest, sending him crashing to the ground. How about now? Can you hear me, Scott? Scott growled louder, his fangs and claws growing out. He charged again. From the side, Styles winced. I guess that's a no. Jacob rolled his shoulders. Time to knock some sense into him. He dodged Scott's swipe, kneed him in the gut, and when Scott bent forward, Jacob grabbed his head and slammed a knee into his face. Scott whimpered and stumbled back. Styles muttered, That's gotta hurt. Jacob looked at him calmly. Can you hear me now, Scott? Scott wiped the blood from his nose. Yeah, and did you have to hit me that hard? You almost broke my nose. Jacob shrugged. Don't worry. If it broke, it would have healed in a few seconds. Super healing, remember? Besides, we're just getting started. I'll hit you harder next time. Scott groaned. Can I quit? Nope. Jacob said. Now retract your claws and fangs and turn your eyes back to normal. Scott focused, and after a moment he shifted back to normal. Jacob nodded. Good. Now practice shifting back and forth until it becomes second nature, like moving your hand or blinking. It took Scott about an hour to gain smooth control over his shift. He looked at Jacob and Styles, who were sitting and talking a short distance away, and said proudly, I did it. I can shift on command now. Jacob folded his arms. Show me. Scott's eyes glowed yellow, his claws and fangs appeared, and then he smoothly shifted back. Jacob smiled. Nice. Now let's take it a step further. Grow your claws one finger at a time. Like this. He held up his hand and demonstrated, growing and retracting each claw individually. I can choose which finger grows claws and which doesn't. Jacob explained. It's easy once you get the hang of it. Scott tried. He struggled at first, but after about half an hour he got the hang of it. While Scott was practicing, Jacob leaned toward Styles and whispered, Tell me what makes Scott really angry? Styles tapped his chin. Let me think. Oh, I got it. You could make fun of his mom, that'll do it. He's super protective. He loves her a lot. Jacob smirked. Perfect. You might want to step back. I'm about to seriously piss him off. Styles backed away. Jacob walked over to Scott and asked, You done playing with your claws? Scott nodded. Yeah, I can do what you showed me now. Good. Jacob said. So, I trained you. How are you gonna thank me? Scott tilted his head. Wait, are we done? Does that mean I won't lose control anymore? What about the full moon? Am I actually safe now? Jacob shrugged. We're done with your first lesson. You've still got a few more days of work before you're in full control. As for the full moon, just crash at my place. If you lose it, I'll activate the barrier. You won't be able to get out. Scott sighed. I was hoping I'd be fully in control by now. Anyway, what kind of thank you do you want? Jacob grinned mischievously. Well, I like older women. And I heard your mom is hot. And single. So how about this, you set me up with your mom. Who knows? Maybe you'll become my stepson. Styles burst out laughing from the sidelines. Dude, you went too far. Jacob just kept going. What? I was thinking I could give him a little brother or sister. Scott stood frozen in disbelief. Then his face twisted in rage. He snarled, eyes glowing yellow, claws extending as he lunged at Jacob. Jacob ducked under the wild swing and casually punched Scott in the stomach, sending him flying into a bush. Too slow. Scott, think about your mom, Jacob shouted. Scott crawled out of the bush, growling. I am. Not how hot she is, you perverted freak. Jacob smirked. Think of her hugs. Her smile. Something emotional. Make her your anchor. Styles couldn't stop laughing, and that only pushed Scott further over the edge. This time he roared with fury. Fur began to grow along his jawline, his face starting to shift, twisting with rage. Shit. Styles muttered. He's completely gone. Jacob sidestepped Scott's attack and swept his legs, slamming him into the grass with a heavy thud. You're too weak, Jacob said coldly. You can't even control yourself. So how are you gonna protect your mom? Scott growled and attacked again. Jacob caught his arm, twisted it behind his back and said, What if that alpha who bit you comes after her? Then Jacob kicked Scott away and said firmly, If you can't control yourself, if you're not strong enough, she could get hurt. Or worse, she could die, Scott. Scott blinked, panting, something in his mind flickering back to reality. But before he could fully calm down, Jacob smirked again and added, So why not let me date her? I can protect her. Scott lost it again. He roared in pure rage, so angry that fur spread down his arms, his skin darkened, and it began taking on a dark gray color. Jacob looked at him with a smile and thought, Damn, I might have made this Scott stronger than the one from the show. I've never seen him like this before, except when he was tearing through those hunters in Season 4. For the next 2 hours, the cycle repeated. Every time Scott calmed down, Jacob or Styles would find a new way to provoke him. When Scott lost control, Jacob would beat him down until he regained it. Eventually, Scott stood panting, shirt torn, dirt smeared across his face. His eyes were still glowing and his claws were out, but he wasn't attacking anymore. He just stood there, glaring at Jacob. Jacob raised an eyebrow. Are you finally in control? I think so, Scott replied. I thought of my mom. Jacob cut him off. Nothing dirty, I hope. Scott growled low in his throat. Jacob chuckled. Oops. Guess I still need to beat you some more? You're clearly not in control yet. No, Scott said firmly. I'm in total control. Styles walked up behind Jacob, eyeing Scott cautiously. Then why are your eyes still glowing? And why are your claws still out? Scott's expression darkened. Because I really want to kill you two bastards. Jacob grinned. All right, I think he's in control. Styles backed up a step. Are you sure? I don't like the way he's looking at me. Jacob shrugged. He's angry and he wants to hit someone. Styles said. Then why is he looking at me? He should beat you, you're the one who wants to date his mom. Jacob shrugged again. Weren't you the one who told me to use his mom to make him angry? Besides, he can't beat me. I'm stronger than him. Scott cracked his knuckles and started walking toward Styles. Styles yelped and took off sprinting toward the mansion. Jacob, help. I think he's losing control again. Jacob laughed as he watched Scott chase after him. He's not losing control, and Scott, don't hit him too hard. He's just a normal human after all. In the mansion's kitchen, Jacob was cooking dinner while Styles sat at the table, holding an ice pack to his head where Scott had punched him earlier. Soon, Scott walked in, freshly showered and wearing clean clothes. He sat down at the table and glanced at Styles. You didn't have to hit me that hard, man. Styles grumbled. I don't have super healing like you. Scott snorted. You deserved it. Scott kept glancing at Jacob, clearly wanting to say something but hesitating. Jacob noticed and sighed. Stop looking at me like that and just say whatever's on your mind. Scott said. You're not really thinking about going after my mom, are you? Jacob burst out laughing. No, man. Relax. I'm not interested in your mom. I've got my hands full with Allison and Lydia. Gotta figure out how to make both of them my girlfriends. Styles blurted. What? You can't go after Lydia. Jacob raised an eyebrow. Why not? Because she has a boyfriend? That won't last, they will break up soon. That's not the reason. Styles muttered. Jacob looked curious. Then what is? Scott smirked. Because Styles has a crush on her. Jacob blinked then grinned. Oh, is that so? Well, Styles, as a friend, I'm gonna give you some honest advice. Maybe find someone who'd actually be into a nerd like you. You are not Lydia's type. That's not for you to decide. Styles shot back. You're right. Jacob said, shrugging. And hey, I like having you around, so when I do start dating Lydia, I hope you'll still be my friend. Styles frowned. I don't think Lydia's the kind of girl who'd date you while you're also dating Allison. Jacob smirked. Who knows? Maybe I'm just that irresistible. Scott rolled his eyes and changed the subject. Anyway, Jacob, am I really in control now? Or am I still gonna lose it on the full moon? Jacob leaned back. I think you won't lose control anymore, but I don't really know for sure. Tomorrow is your first full moon, so just in case, you should spend the night here at my house. That way, even if you lose control, I can activate the barrier and you'll be trapped inside. Styles added. Or you could just beat his ass again until he regains control. Jacob shook his head. Can't. Tomorrow, I'm going to Lydia's party, so I won't be able to babysit Scott. Styles perked up. Wait, Lydia's party? I forgot about that. I'm definitely going. Scott frowned. So while you two are out partying, I'm stuck here alone? Jacob grinned. If you were a hot girl, maybe I'd stay in and keep you company. But sadly you're not. You could ask Styles to stay. Styles raised his hands. No thank you. We don't know if he'll lose control or not, and I'm not willing to risk my life to find out. Besides, I really want to go to Lydia's party. Scott, upset that he couldn't go to the party, said, Why are you even excited? It's not like she invited you on a date. She only invited us because we're Jacob's friends. Honestly, she seems pretty interested in him. Styles sighed. You know what? I don't even care. Maybe I'll get lucky with some other girl. Anyway, I'm going to have fun at the party. Jacob clapped him on the back. That's the spirit. You better give up soon and spare yourself the heartbreak when Lydia becomes my girlfriend. Styles shrugged. Maybe I'll give up when that actually happens. Until then, a man can dream. Jacob laughed. Yes, a man can dream. A few minutes later, Jacob placed dinner on the table, steaks and a few simple side dishes. The three of them ate, joked, and relaxed. After they cleaned up, they moved to the living room, sipping soda on the couch. Scott looked at Jacob seriously. Earlier you said the alpha who bit me might come after me or even hurt my mom. Were you serious? Jacob nodded. Yeah. I think he bit you because he's trying to build a pack. That's probably the only reason you're still alive. Styles looked confused. What do you mean? Jacob said. If that alpha wanted Scott dead, do you really think he'd still be here? Scott shook his head. No, I couldn't have survived. I remember, he pinned me to the ground, bit me, and then just let me go. Styles frowned. So that thing, it's going to come after Scott again? Jacob answered without hesitation. Definitely. If it hasn't already. Styles turned to Scott. Has it? Scott hesitated. I think so. I woke up in the woods yesterday morning and I heard him growling and I saw him too. Then what happened? Styles asked. Scott said. I just ran and fell into a pool. Then I went back home. He didn't chase you? No. Scott said. How did you end up in the woods in the first place? I don't know. Scott said quietly. Jacob chimed in. It's the alpha's doing. If you were awake, you might not have gone to the woods. But since you were asleep, you might have heard him howl and instinctively gone to him. Scott looked shaken. Wait, can he control me? Jacob nodded. Yes, but not like that. If he really wanted to control you, he'd need to roar at you face to face. But if your will is strong enough, you can resist him. Scott looked like he was starting to panic, so Jacob added calmly. Don't worry too much. He won't hurt you and he won't really hurt your mom or kill her because he wants you in his pack. However, he will threaten you with her safety and the safety of your friends. He'll use them to force you to submit. Scott clenched his fists. Then what am I supposed to do? Jacob shrugged. I don't know. But me? I'm definitely fighting him. He probably already wants to kill me anyway. Styles blinked. Why would he want to kill you? Jacob smirked. Because that night in the woods when we first met him, I fought him. He was stronger than me, but I had bear spray. I hit him with it a few times and even gouged his eye. So yeah, I'm probably on his must-kill list. He'll probably try to make me submit to him first, and when I refuse, he'll try to kill me. Styles muttered. I'm definitely buying bear spray. Jacob chuckled. Good idea. But hold on to it yourself. Don't give it to Scott just in case the alpha controls him. Then you can use it on both of them. Most importantly, you have to use it in a surprise attack, because an alpha werewolf can move so fast you won't even have time to blink. Styles nodded slowly. Surprise attack. Got it. Scott looked at Jacob. What other weaknesses do werewolves have? Wolfsbane. Jacob said. There are different kinds. Some just weaken werewolves, others can kill them in minutes. High voltage electricity works too. And mountain ash. Styles asked. What about silver? Jacob shook his head. Nope. Silver isn't actually a weakness for werewolves, but the family with that name is. Styles raised an eyebrow. Wait, are we talking about a family of werewolf hunters with the last name Silver? Not Silver. Jacob corrected. Argent. Scott's eyes widened. As in, Allison Argent. Jacob nodded. Yep. Her family are old-school werewolf hunters, originating from France. They're so good at it that people started thinking Argent, which means silver in French, was actually a weakness for werewolves. Styles blinked. Then why are you friends with Allison? Why do you even want to date her? Aren't you scared of her family? Her dad already looks like he wants to skin you alive every time he picks her up from school. Jacob grinned. Because she's hot. And after getting to know her, I really like her. Styles rolled his eyes. Yeah. Well, when her dad finds out you're a snake, he's going to kill your dumb ass and turn your skin into a belt. Jacob's eyes glowed gold. Styles, I'm not as easy to kill as you think. Scott jumped in. What if Allison doesn't even want to be friends with you after she finds out what you are? Jacob's eyes faded back to normal. I think I'm handsome enough that she'll accept me for who I am. He chuckled. What really scares me is what she'll do to me when I tell her I want to have a harem. Styles groaned. Why are you so obsessed with having a harem, man? Jacob shrugged. It's in my nature. Styles narrowed his eyes. Are you some kind of lustful snake? Jacob smirked, sipping his soda. Something like that. Scott leaned forward. By the way, what other creatures like us do you know about? Jacob thought for a second. There are a lot. Where do I even start? Wait, I've got a book. Hang on. He stood up and went upstairs. A few minutes later he returned with a thick leather-bound book, The Bestiary, a Reward from the System. He handed it to Styles. Here. It's like an encyclopedia of supernatural creatures. Just a warning though, don't blame me if you have nightmares. Scott and Styles exchanged curious glances, then started flipping through the pages. They saw entries for terrifying beasts, cursed beings, and creatures they couldn't even pronounce. It didn't take long for Styles to slam the book shut and hand it back to Jacob. Yeah, no thanks. I don't think I want to read this anymore. Scott laughed nervously. Honestly, I think this book's fake. What do you think, Styles? Styles nodded quickly. Totally fake. Yep. Definitely not real. Jacob grinned. I hate to disappoint you guys, but... Styles cut him off. Then don't. We've decided it's fake. Let us keep believing that. You evil, cold-blooded snake. Jacob chuckled. As you wish. Scott glanced at the clock. It's getting late. I should head home before my mom starts freaking out. Yeah, me too. Styles said, standing up. After saying their goodbyes, Scott and Styles left the mansion. Jacob wandered into his gaming room and played for a few hours before finally going to bed. The next day, Jacob woke up, had breakfast, and signed into the system. He received some food and daily necessities as his daily reward. After getting ready, he hopped on his new bike and rode to school. Once there, he met up with his friends and together they went through their school day as usual. After school, they gathered outside in front of the main entrance. Lydia, who was standing with them, turned to Jacob and said, "Don't forget to come to my party tonight." Jacob smiled. "I won't." As Lydia walked away, Jacob turned to Allison. "Should I come pick you up from your house tonight?" Allison nodded. "Yeah, but don't bring your bike. My dad already doesn't like you that much. If he sees you riding a bike, he definitely won't let me go with you." Jacob frowned. "Why does your dad hate me anyway?" Allison shrugged. "I don't know. Anyway, I've gotta go. He's here." She gave him a quick wave before walking over to her dad's car, which had just pulled up. Jacob watched her go, then turned to Styles. "You drive Scott to my house." Styles raised an eyebrow. "Why don't you take him with you? You're going there anyway." Jacob gestured toward his bike. "I brought my bike today and I don't feel like having a dude hugging me from behind." Styles rolled his eyes. "Fine." He looked at Scott. "Get your wolf butt in my car. I'll drive you to the snake's lair." Scott chuckled and got into the Jeep. Once the three of them arrived at Jacob's mansion, Styles dropped Scott off and left. Jacob turned to Scott. "I've still got a few hours before I need to pick up Allison. Let's play some video games." The two of them headed to the gaming room and played for a couple of hours. Eventually, Jacob stood up and said, "All right, time for me to head out. I've activated the barrier, so even if you lose control, you won't be able to leave the house. Just don't stay inside the whole time, go out and look at the moon. See if it affects you. And if you get hungry, there's food in the fridge. Eat whatever you want." Scott nodded. "Thanks." Jacob went upstairs, took a shower, got dressed, and then drove his car to Allison's house. When he arrived, he parked in front of her home and stepped out of the car. He pulled out his phone and called her. She answered after a few seconds. "Jay? Are you outside?" "Yeah," Jacob replied. "You ready yet?" "Almost. Give me like 15 minutes. "All right. Hurry up," Jacob said before hanging up. As he waited, the front door opened and Chris stepped outside. He looked straight at Jacob and called out, "Hey kid, come here." Jacob sighed to himself. "I guess I have to talk to him eventually." He walked up to Chris and greeted him. "Hello, Mr. Argent." Chris looked him over. "Want to come in for a drink?" Jacob hesitated. "There's no need." Chris cut him off. "I insist." Jacob sighed and said, "All right." Then walked into the house, following Chris to the living room where Victoria was already seated. He greeted her politely. "Good evening, Mrs. Argent." Victoria gave him a curt nod. "Sit." Jacob sat down and Victoria handed him a teacup. "Here, have some tea." "Thank you," Jacob replied, taking the cup. As he glanced inside, he noticed a few purple petals floating in the tea. He thought to himself, "Wolfsbane. Clever. They're testing me to see if I'm a werewolf. Too bad for them I'm not." He took a sip and said casually, "Not bad, but I could use a little more sugar." Victoria and Chris exchanged a quick look. Then Victoria slid the sugar bowl toward him and said, "Help yourself." Jacob began adding sugar, 1 cube, then a second, then a few more. Chris finally snapped, grabbing the bowl away. "That's enough, kid. Sugar's bad for your health." Jacob smirked. "Come on, Mr. Argent. No need to be stingy." He stirred the tea and took another sip. "Ah, perfect." Chris narrowed his eyes. "So, kid, tell me, what exactly is going on between you and Allison?" Jacob leaned back and took another sip. "We're just friends." "Are you sure?" Jacob raised an eyebrow. "Yes. What? You wouldn't happen to want me as your son-in-law, would you?" Victoria raised a brow, clearly amused. Chris, on the other hand, was not. "No, I don't like you. And I want you to stay away from my daughter." Jacob looked confused. "What? Did I do something wrong? You look like trouble. And you're a bad influence. Ever since she met you, she's changed. She never even went to parties before." Jacob held up a finger. "Hold on a second. If anyone's the bad influence here, it's your daughter. She's the one who wanted to go to the party and dragged me into it. I just wanted to stay home and play video games, okay? She is a bad girl." Chris got angry. "You little punk. You've got a death wish, don't you? How dare you say my daughter is a bad girl?" Jacob smirked. "Don't worry, sir. I'll keep her out of trouble and stop her whenever she wants to do something reckless." Chris's eyes flared. He reached into his coat, pulled out his gun, and placed it on the table with a loud clunk. Jacob slowly raised his hands. Okay, I was just joking. Allison is the sweetest, most well-behaved girl I've ever met. Don't shoot me. But hey, can I hold the gun? I've never held one before." Chris stared at him. "What do you think?" Jacob scratched the back of his head. "I think you need to relax, sir. You look tense. You should smile more." Chris reached for his gun again and clicked off the safety. Jacob glanced toward the staircase and called out, "Allison, are you done watching the show? If you don't come out now, your dad's gonna shoot me." Allison, who had been peeking from the top of the stairs, finally walked down. "Dad," she said with a sigh. "You promised you wouldn't scare him away." Chris clicked the safety back on and holstered the gun. "I was just joking with him, sweetheart." Jacob let out a sigh. "Well, that wasn't funny. I've never been held at gunpoint before. I think I'm traumatized now. I need to see a shrink." Allison rolled her eyes. "All right, stop being dramatic. Let's go." She grabbed his arm and started pulling him toward the door. Just as they were about to leave, Victoria, who had been watching silently, spoke up. "Wait, kid. Did you ever see that bear from the other night again?" Jacob shook his head. "No. I haven't gone out at night since then." "Why?" Victoria shrugged. "Just wondering. You can go now, but make sure Allison is home by 11:30. Jacob nodded. "Okay. Bye, Mrs. Argent. And thanks for the tea." He glanced at Chris and added, "Bye, Mr. A. Never mind. Allison, let's go. Your dad still looks like he really wants to shoot me." And with that, he quickly exited. Allison followed him. "Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad." Chris and Victoria watched them drive away. Victoria crossed her arms. "Well, now we know for sure the kid isn't a werewolf." Chris sighed. "Too bad. I really wanted to shoot him." Victoria gave him a look. Alright, enough about the kid. We need to focus on finding that alpha. I've never seen anything like him before. If we let him roam free, he'll build a pack and grow even stronger. Chris nodded. I was hoping the kid might be his beta. We could have used him to find the alpha. But now we'll have to find another lead. Victoria thought for a moment. What about Derek Hale? You said he's back in town. Chris said. I don't think he knows who the alpha is. And he's probably looking for him too. I'll keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, in Jacob's car. He was driving when Allison smirked and said, So, I'm a bad girl, huh? Jacob chuckled. Yes. You were watching the whole show and smiling while your dad pulled a gun on me. So yeah, you're a bad person and a bad friend. Allison rolled her eyes. Oh please. Don't act like you were scared of him. Jacob glanced at her. By the way, why does your dad carry a gun? Is he a cop or something? No. Allison replied. He sells weapons. Jacob raised an eyebrow. So, are you good with guns then? I know my way around them. Allison said. But I'm much better with a bow. I'm really good at it. Jacob grinned. Then you should show me sometime. Allison smiled. Sure. Want to go to the woods someday? Jacob shook his head. Nah, just come to my place. You can show off your bow skills in my backyard. And by the way, promise me you won't go into the woods alone. Or with Lydia. Actually, just avoid the woods completely. Allison frowned. Why? Because of that bear? I'll bring bear spray. Jacob shook his head more firmly. Don't. That thing wasn't normal, Allison. Please just don't go into the woods. It was just a bear. She insisted. Jacob looked over at her. Allison, that thing outran your mom's car. And its eyes were glowing red. Remember? For the first time since she had seen Peter in his werewolf form that night, Allison began thinking seriously about what that thing was. After a quiet moment she asked, Then what do you think that thing was, Jay? Jacob sighed. I don't know. But promise me, you won't go into the woods. Allison nodded. Okay. I won't. Do you think it was the thing that killed that girl in the woods? Probably. Jacob replied. Now, let's not talk about creepy stuff anymore. He reached over and turned on the radio. Let's sing a little instead. And with that, they drove off toward Lydia's house, singing the whole way. Jacob and Allison arrived at Lydia's house. Jacob parked his car and the two of them walked inside. The party was pure chaos. Teenagers were dancing, drinking, and loud music shook the walls. Allison looked around with wide eyes. Well, this is not what I was expecting. Jacob smirked. Then what were you expecting? This is exactly what a high school party looks like, a bunch of drunk, horny teenagers sticking their tongues down each other's throats. Disgusting. Allison laughed. Aren't you a teenager too? Why do you sound like a grumpy old man? I don't like loud music. Jacob said, wrinkling his nose. And it smells like sweat and vomit in here. But hey, you wanted to come to a party, so I'm not going to ruin it for you. Let's dance. Allison blushed. Dance? Yes. I don't know how to dance. Jacob shrugged. Me neither. Then he gently pulled her close. Let's just stick together and do what everyone else is doing. They began to dance. At first it was awkward, neither of them quite knew what they were doing, but eventually they got the hang of it and started to enjoy themselves. After a while, Jacob leaned in with a playful grin. So, do you want me to stick my tongue down your throat now? Allison blushed furiously and shoved him away. No, you pervert. What's wrong with you? Jacob laughed. I was just being polite. Thought I'd ask if you want to do it. You know, since everyone else here is doing it. Still blushing, Allison huffed. Well, I don't want to, okay? Let's go get something to drink. I'm tired, we've been dancing forever. Sure. Jacob said. The two walked over to the drink table and ran into Styles. Jacob greeted him. Oh hey man. Having fun? Styles looked excited. Yes. Some random girl just came up to me, stuck her tongue in my mouth and started kissing me like there was no tomorrow. But sadly, she ran away and started vomiting. Jacob raised a brow. Good for you, man, and you're lucky she didn't vomit in your mouth. Unless you're into that, then I guess you're unlucky. Styles grimaced. Gross. I'm not into weird kinks like that. Okay, I'm leaving before you ruin kissing forever for me. I'm going to dance. See you guys later. Jacob said. Okay. And hey, stop taking advantage of drunk girls. That's sexual harassment. Styles turned away, flipping Jacob off without looking back as he disappeared into the crowd, doing some wildly uncoordinated dance moves. Jacob and Allison laughed. By the way, Allison asked, where's Scott? I haven't seen him. He's working at the animal clinic tonight. Couldn't make it, Jacob replied. So what should we drink? They turned toward the drink table, which was covered in plastic cups filled with beer. You gonna drink beer? Jacob asked. Allison shook her head. Nope. You. I don't like beer. It smells nasty. Just then Lydia walked over to them, looking gorgeous and full of party energy. Hey, you guys enjoying the party? Yeah, it's fun. Allison replied with a smile. Jacob gave a shrug. It's okay. But I could use a drink. Lydia gestured behind them. The drinks are right there. I don't drink beer, Jacob said. Jackson, who had come up behind Lydia, smirked. What? Your mommy doesn't let you? Jacob smiled calmly. Yeah, she's very strict. So you're a mommy's boy, huh? Jackson teased. He and 3 of his lacrosse buddies burst out laughing. Allison stepped forward. Stop talking about his mom. Jackson grinned. Can't even stand up for yourself? Gotta let your girlfriend protect you? Jacob sighed, clearly done with the whole scene. He looked at Lydia and said, Thanks for the invite. I should leave before I ruin your party. He turned and walked away. Allison glared at Jackson. Stupid pig. She muttered, then quickly followed Jacob out. Styles, who had overheard everything, sighed and followed after them. But Jackson called out mockingly. Going home to cry to your mom, Alexander? Don't be so sensitive. Come on, call her up. Maybe she can party with us too. Jacob stopped. Styles noticed the change in his expression and stepped in. Don't, man. He's not worth it. Jacob asked quietly. What would you do if someone talked about your mom like that, Styles? Styles sighed. Just, don't go too far, okay? I'll try. Jacob muttered. Allison grabbed his arm. Jay, be careful. Styles glanced toward Jackson. You should be more worried about that idiot. Jackson saw Jacob walking toward him and got scared. Jacob was taller than him and looked stronger too. Normally, Jackson avoided him, but ever since Jacob transferred to the school, he hated how Lydia looked at him. So he asked his 3 friends to help him teach Jacob a lesson tonight. Jackson nodded to his friends. One of them, a big, broad-shouldered guy, stepped forward and put a hand on Jacob's shoulder to stop him. Bad move. Jacob grabbed the guy's wrist, applied just a fraction of his strength, and the boy cried out in pain. In one swift motion, Jacob headbutted him in the face. Blood burst from his nose as he collapsed, dazed and howling on the floor. The other 2 attacked at the same time. Jacob dodged the first punch and slapped the guy hard across the face, knocking him out cold. The other received a brutal knee to the gut and fell to the floor, gagging and vomiting. Jackson froze. He hadn't expected this. Jacob walked up to him. Without a word, he slapped Jackson across the face, once, twice, again and again. Not hard enough to knock him out, but hard enough to hurt. His cheeks turned red and swollen as blood trickled from his mouth. Jacob, that's enough. Lydia shouted, panicked. Jacob turned toward her slowly. His usual smirk gone, his expression emotionless. She shivered under his cold gaze. He looked back at Jackson, grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Leaning in, he whispered coldly. This is the last time you provoke me. You hear me? Next time I'll kill you. And I mean it. Then he tossed Jackson like a rag doll onto the drink table, shattering it and soaking him in beer. Jackson wheezed, struggling to breathe as he lay in the wreckage. Without another word, Jacob walked out. Allison spat on Jackson and said, Scum, before hurrying after Jacob. Once Jacob was gone, Jackson groaned and forced himself to stand, blood still dripping from his split lip. He looked around at the crowd and said angrily, Someone call the cops. I'll make sure that freak goes to jail. Styles, still standing nearby, stepped forward. I wouldn't do that if I were you. You and your buddies jumped him. He was just defending himself. We all saw what happened. Jackson sneered. Mind your own business, Stilinski. Besides. He turned to the silent onlookers and raised his voice. Did anyone see what happened? The room went quiet. Everyone looked away, avoiding his gaze. Jackson smirked. See, no one saw a thing. In fact, if it comes down to it, they'll say Alexander attacked us for no reason. So tell me, who do you think the cops are gonna believe, us or you? Styles didn't flinch. You know my dad's the sheriff, right? Who do you think he's going to believe? Jackson cursed under his breath. Damn it. Styles leaned in slightly. And believe me when I say this, if you had any idea what Jacob's capable of, you'd change schools and pray you never see him again. Jackson just snorted, not taking Styles' words to heart. Styles turned and walked away. Outside the house, Lydia caught up to him. Styles, wait. He stopped but didn't stammer or blush like he usually did around her. What do you want? Lydia hesitated. Why was Jacob so upset? Styles didn't sugarcoat it. His parents died in a car accident. And your stupid boyfriend just told him to call his dead mother to come party. He turned and walked toward his Jeep, leaving Lydia stunned on the doorstep. After standing there for a moment, Lydia turned back and stepped inside. Her eyes swept over the party wreckage and the murmuring crowd. Then she raised her voice. All right everyone, the party's over. Please leave. After everyone had left, Lydia stood in silence, staring at Jackson for a long moment. Then, with a heavy sigh, she reached for the key hanging around her neck, pulled it off and handed it to him. We're done, she said flatly. Leave. Jackson, still dazed and wiping blood from his mouth, said, What? Why? Lydia shrugged. I'm not dating a scumbag loser like you anymore. Jackson clenched his fists. Is this about Alexander? You want to date him, don't you? That's none of your business. Lydia replied coldly. Fine. Jackson snapped. I don't need you anyway, bitch. Lydia said. Do you even know why Jacob slapped the shit out of you? Because his parents are dead and you, like the pig you are, told him to call his dead mother to come party. She stepped closer, her voice cold. I shouldn't have stopped him. Honestly, I wish he'd hit you harder. Now get your pathetic ass out of my house. Jackson didn't have a comeback. He just stormed off, slamming the door behind him. In Jacob's car, the drive was quiet until Allison turned to him and asked, Are you okay? Jacob smiled faintly. Yeah, I'm not that fragile. Sure, I wanted to kill that bastard, but I'm fine. He paused, then added, Let's not talk about that anymore. It's only 9:30 and we haven't eaten yet. What do you say we grab something? Allison nodded. Sounds good. And maybe after we eat we could catch a movie. What do you think? Jacob grinned. Sounds like a plan. They grabbed burgers from a local diner, then went to see a movie together. Afterward, Jacob drove Allison home. He parked in front of her house and walked her to the door. Allison smiled. Thanks. Tonight was fun. The dance at the party was fun and the movie was fun too. But I think tonight's party will be my first and probably my last. It was disgusting and that pig Jackson made it even worse. Jacob laughed. Told you we should have just stayed home, played some games or watched a movie. As they reached the door, it opened before Allison could knock. Victoria stood there, arms crossed. Jacob raised his hands jokingly. I brought her back on time. And don't worry, I didn't let her get into any kind of trouble. By the way, she wanted to drink beer and I didn't let her. Allison gasped. What? I did not. Mom, he's lying. She kicked Jacob lightly in the leg. Go away, you liar. Jacob chuckled. Good night, ladies. He gave them a little wave, walked back to his car and drove off. Victoria turned to Allison with an arched eyebrow. So, about the beer? Allison groaned. He's lying, Mom. Besides, we didn't even stay at the party that long. It was disgusting. So we left and went to the movies instead. Victoria nodded slowly. Are you two dating? Allison shook her head. No, we're just friends. I see. Allison mumbled under her breath. For now at least. Victoria raised an eyebrow. What was that, sweetheart? Allison blushed. Nothing. Where's Dad? He's out. He'll be back soon. Okay, I'm tired. I'm going to my room. Good night, Mom. Good night, sweetheart. After dropping Allison off at her house, Jacob drove back to his mansion. When he arrived, he found Styles sitting just outside the barrier, and Scott sitting inside it, both of them leaning against the iron gate. Jacob pulled up and got out of his car. Styles, what are you doing here? Styles grinned. Just came to check on Scott, and to tell him I kissed a girl at the party. Jacob smirked. So basically, you're here to make him lose control. Something like that. Styles said with a smile. Jacob opened the gate and looked at Scott. So, did you lose control when you saw the moon? Scott shook his head. I almost did at first, but I calmed down quickly. The full moon doesn't really make me lose control, it just makes me feel stronger, full of energy. Like I drank a bunch of energy drinks. At least that's what it felt like. Jacob nodded. So you're not worried about losing control even in the full moon? Yeah. Scott said. Thanks for helping, by the way. Even though you made me want to kill you and Styles, still thank you. You're welcome. Jacob said casually. Styles leaned forward. Hey Jacob, does the moon affect you too? Jacob shook his head. No. The moon doesn't do anything to me at all. He looked between them. So, Are you two staying here tonight or heading home? I already told my mom I'd be crashing at a friend's place. Scott said. I'll call my dad and let him know I'm staying here too. Styles added. All right. Jacob said. Then drive your car inside and close the gate behind you. Jacob got back into his car and drove through the gate, parking outside the mansion. Styles followed in his Jeep and Scott closed the gate behind them. After grabbing a quick bite in the kitchen, the three of them settled into the living room. By the way, Styles said, after you left the party with Allison, Jackson wanted to call the cops. Said he'd make sure you ended up in jail. But I stopped him. Jacob scoffed. Then I guess you saved his ass. I joke around all day at school, but I'm not a pushover. If he provokes me again, I'll make him regret it. Scott raised an eyebrow. Regret it how? You're really gonna hurt him? Jacob shrugged. Of course. I'll send his ass to the hospital or worse. Styles blinked. What's worse than the hospital? Jacob grinned darkly. A morgue. Styles stared. Are you actually saying you'd kill Jackson if he pissed you off enough? Relax, I'm just joking. Jacob said, laughing. I'm not going to kill that idiot. Styles still looked uneasy. Okay, but let's say someone really made you angry. Would you actually kill them? Jacob's smile faded slightly. Look, I'm not a murderer. But if I had to kill to survive, I would. And I consider you two and Allison my friends. If I had to kill someone to save you, I wouldn't hesitate. Styles sipped his soda. Thanks? I guess. I always knew you were a bit scary, but I didn't realize you were kill-a-guy scary. Jacob chuckled. Styles, my world is full of supernatural creatures. Some are good, some are bad, but there are some that are truly evil. Like what? Styles asked, curious. Wendigos. Jacob said. Styles blinked. Wendigos. What are those? Cannibals. Shapeshifters that survive by eating humans. Scott and Styles both stared at Jacob, stunned. Wait, is there really a shapeshifter like that? Scott asked. Jacob nodded. Yeah, Wendigos are real. And they're not the only ones. Some supernatural creatures are cannibals. Some eat babies. Some sacrifice humans to gain power. And some just enjoy killing and spreading chaos. Styles shivered. Well, I don't think I can get a good night's sleep from now on. Jacob gave a half smile. This is my world. And whether you like it or not, you two are part of it now. Scott frowned. So, I don't think I could kill someone. Evil or not. Jacob shrugged. No one's forcing you to. But you need to understand something. Being kind to your enemies can be cruel to yourself. And more often than not, you won't be the one who pays the price, your loved ones will. Styles scratched his head. Isn't there, like, a supernatural jail or something? Jacob shook his head. Not that I know of. Scott said. Well, what about the hunters? If we run into something evil, we could tell them. Jacob's expression darkened. If you want to get hunted too, be my guest. Styles frowned. Didn't you say hunters have a code? They don't hurt innocent shapeshifters. Jacob nodded. I did. But I also said not all of them follow the code. So don't trust them blindly. Just as Styles was about to reply, Jacob suddenly tilted his head, like he was listening to something far away. Scott did the same. What is it? Styles asked, looking between them. You don't hear that? Scott asked. Hear what? Jacob smirked. A howl. Sounds like the Alpha is calling Scott. Styles glanced at Scott. So, do you feel some weird urge to go to him or something? Scott shook his head. No. Nothing. Jacob grinned. Then how about we go to him and fight him, Scott? Scott gave him a look. How about, no? Jacob laughed. You're going to have to fight him eventually. Eventually. Scott agreed. But not now. All right. Jacob said. How about we go play some games? I'm done talking about the supernatural for today. Styles perked up. Now that sounds fun. I'm in. Me too. Scott added. The three of them headed to the game room and spent the rest of the night playing video games until late. Eventually, Jacob showed them to two guest rooms, then went to his own to sleep. The next morning, Jacob woke up around 10:30 a.m. It was Saturday, no school. He sat up in bed and said in his mind, System, sign in. Daily sign-in successful. Rewards obtained. Random panty collection. Today's belongs to Nami, 1 piece. Captain Jack Sparrow's dirt jar, a literal jar of dirt, Pirates of the Caribbean. -10 rotisserie chickens. Jacob groaned. Seriously? Again with the perverted rewards? And what am I supposed to do with a jar of dirt? But at least the chickens look good. He got up, took a shower, then headed downstairs to the kitchen. After frying some eggs and sausage, he found a pancake recipe on his phone and made a big batch. Then he pulled 5 rotisserie chickens from his system inventory and placed everything on the table. Not long after, Styles and Scott wandered into the kitchen, following the smell of food. Scott looked at the table overflowing with food and asked, "What's with all this? Do you have guests we don't know about?" Styles raised an eyebrow. "You fried way too many eggs and sausages. And what's with all the pancakes? And where did those chickens even come from?" "I ordered the chickens this morning. You guys can eat as much as you want." Jacob smiled. "And don't worry, there will be no leftovers. You boys are about to see something special. Now sit. I'm starving." Scott and Styles exchanged a shrug and sat down to eat. But it didn't take long for them to realize why Jacob had cooked so much food. They watched in stunned silence as Jacob devoured 3 whole chickens, followed by most of the eggs, sausages, and pancakes on the table. Jacob glanced at the 1.5 chickens still untouched. "You guys done with the chicken?" Scott blinked. "Yeah." Styles held up his hands. "All yours, man." Jacob proceeded to eat the remaining chicken, then helped himself to more eggs and pancakes. By the time he was done, the table was completely empty. He let out a loud burp and said, "Ah, that hit the spot." He noticed Scott and Styles staring at him in disbelief. "What?" Jacob asked. "Why are you two looking at me like that?" Styles leaned back. "Do you eat like this every day?" Jacob nodded. "Yep." "Why?" "Why? That was enough food to last me a week." Jacob chuckled. "If you're shocked by this, wait until you see my lunch and dinner. I could probably eat a whole cow if I wanted to." Scott frowned. "Where do you even put all that food? Your stomach doesn't even look that big." Jacob shrugged. "Ever since I awakened and became a shapeshifter, I've needed a ton of food. Whatever I am, I think I'm going through some kind of growth phase. My body's burning through energy like crazy." Styles squinted at him. "You're not an Ouroboros, are you?" Jacob blinked. "Hey, what now?" Styles explained. "It's a mythological snake that's so greedy and hungry, it eats its own tail. At least, that's how I understand the Ouroboros myth." Jacob laughed. "No, I'm not whatever that Ouroboros thing is. I don't even think I'm a snake." Scott asked, "So, when exactly did you become a shapeshifter?" "Not long ago," Jacob replied. "Maybe a week or so." Styles leaned forward. "Then how do you know all the stuff you told us about the supernatural?" Jacob thought to himself. "Because I watched the Teen Wolf show, obviously, but I'm not telling them that. Let's give them a convincing answer." He replied. "It's all in that book I gave you the other day. But you two cowards were too scared to read it. Also, a friend of my parents told me about the hunters and other stuff." "So, your parents were shapeshifters too?" Styles asked. Jacob nodded. "Yes. I wasn't turned by the bite of an alpha. I'm a shapeshifter by inheritance." Styles asked, "Didn't you ask your parents' friend what they were?" Jacob replied. "I did, but she said they didn't know what they were exactly, just that they were shapeshifters. Anyway, I'm not too concerned about what I am. I'll find out eventually." After chatting for a while longer, Scott and Styles eventually left. Jacob cleaned up the dishes, then stepped outside the mansion. He walked over to the gazebo in the garden and sat down in one of the chairs. Reaching into his pocket dimension, he pulled out the bestiary and started reading. While Jacob was reading the bestiary in the gazebo, he heard the sound of a car pulling up outside his mansion. He closed the book and stored it back in his pocket dimension before heading toward the iron gate. There, he found Allison about to call him on her phone. She wasn't alone. Lydia was sitting in the passenger seat. Jacob opened the gate. "Morning, girls. Allison, go ahead and drive in." Allison parked her car in front of the mansion and both girls stepped out. "Good morning, Jay." Allison greeted with a warm smile. "What are you up to today?" "Not much," Jacob replied. "Just relaxing and doing a bit of reading." Lydia looked around, clearly impressed. "Good morning, Jacob. You didn't tell me you were rich." Jacob chuckled. "I don't like to show off." Lydia hesitated for a moment, then said, "I'm sorry about what happened yesterday. I didn't know about your parents until Styles told me. If I had, I wouldn't have stopped you from hitting Jackson." Jacob shrugged. "Don't worry about it. I just hope your boyfriend doesn't try to provoke me again, for his own sake." Lydia snorted. "He's not my boyfriend anymore. I broke up with that pig last night." Jacob grinned. "Good for you. I never understood why a smart girl like you was with someone as stupid as him." Lydia sighed. "Everyone makes mistakes. And Jackson was mine." "Well," Jacob said, Let's not waste another breath talking about him. You girls want to come inside. Before that, Allison said, I brought my bow. Thought I'd show you some of my skills. Jacob's eyes lit up. Really? Then let's head to the backyard. Allison retrieved her bow from the car, and the three of them made their way to the backyard. She demonstrated her archery skills, effortlessly hitting the tree she was aiming at. Jacob watched, clearly impressed. Wow, you're really good. Let me give it a try. Allison handed him the bow. Here, be careful though. Jacob knocked an arrow and pulled the string, but he tugged a little too hard, nearly snapping the bow in half. Stop. Stop. Allison shouted, alarmed. You're pulling too hard. You'll break the bowstring or the whole bow. Sorry. Jacob said sheepishly. Didn't think it'd be that easy to pull. Allison rolled her eyes. It's not. You're just freakishly strong. I'll take that as a compliment, Jacob said with a grin. He tried again, this time more carefully, but missed the target completely. Allison smirked. You're doing it wrong. Then how about you show me instead of standing there smirking like an idiot? Jacob shot back playfully. You're the idiot. Allison replied, laughing. She stepped behind him, wrapping her arms around his to guide his posture and aim. The two of them started laughing and enjoying themselves as she helped him adjust. Meanwhile, Lydia stood a few feet away, biting her nail and glaring at them. She was clearly annoyed and jealous. She wanted to be the one that close to Jacob. After a few tries, Jacob started getting the hang of it, landing solid hits on the tree. He handed the bow back to Allison. Give me another day or two and I'll be better than you. Allison pouted. You're only getting better because I'm a great teacher. But I have to admit, you've got talent. Lydia crossed her arms. Can you two stop acting like I'm not here? Allison chuckled. Do you want to learn too? I can teach you. Lydia smiled slyly. Okay, I want to learn. But I want Jacob to teach me. Allison frowned. I think I should be the one teaching you. Jacob can barely hit the tree. Lydia ignored Allison and took the bow from her. He's good enough for me. She knocked an arrow and tried to pull the string but struggled. Ugh, this is hard. Jacob, come help me. Jacob, never one to refuse, stepped behind her and wrapped his arms around her to help guide her aim. Lydia didn't try to hit the tree at all. She was too busy enjoying Jacob's closeness. Every time she missed, she asked him to help her again, using the training as an excuse to stay close. After watching them for a few while, Allison finally had enough. That's enough. She snapped, stepping in between them. Lydia, come help me gather the arrows. Then she looked at Jacob. Can you go make us something to eat, please? I'm starving. Jacob raised an eyebrow, sensing the tension, but nodded. Sure. He headed back inside the mansion. Once Jacob was gone, Allison turned and glared at Lydia. What was that? Lydia blinked innocently. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. You weren't trying to learn archery, you were all over Jay, flirting the entire time. Lydia smirked. Was I that obvious? But why do you care? You're not his girlfriend. Allison blushed and scowled. That doesn't matter. I like him. And I'm calling dibs. Dibs. Lydia scoffed. You can't just call dibs on a person. I like him too. Inside the kitchen, Jacob, who had been listening with his supernatural hearing, was grinning like an idiot when he heard that they both liked him. But when the conversation started to heat up, he muttered. Shit, are they going to fight? I knew him first. Allison argued. Lydia raised her hands. Okay, let's not fight. How about we let him choose? Fair and square. You mean just ask him which one of us he likes? Allison asked skeptically. We can't do that, Lydia said. He'll probably say he likes us both or something dumb like that. Allison narrowed her eyes. Why do you think he'd say that? Because he's a pervert, Lydia said bluntly. I saw how much he was enjoying it when you hugged him earlier, and he was definitely being handsy when he was teaching me. Allison frowned. So what should we do then? Nothing, Lydia said. Let's just stay his friends for now. But we have to make sure the other girls at school stay away from him. I'm sure you've noticed how they all look at him. Allison snorted. Yeah. They all look at him the same way you do, bitch. Hey, Lydia said, offended. That was uncalled for. What? Am I wrong? Allison snapped. You had a boyfriend but you're still drooling over Jacob. Doesn't that make you a bitch? Lydia shrugged, unbothered. I don't know what to tell you. I've never been this attracted to someone before. It wasn't so bad when I first met him, but the more time I spend with him, the more I can't stop thinking about him. She looked at Allison. And judging by the look on your face, you feel the same way. Allison looked away. I don't know what you're talking about. Lydia smirked. Come on, don't tell me you haven't dreamed about him at night. Allison blushed and blurted out. You dreamed about him too. Wait, no, I meant you dreamed of Jay before. What was your dream about? Lydia grinned. Tell me yours and I'll tell you mine. Allison cleared her throat. I don't want to talk about that. Let's just gather the arrows and go. Come on, tell me. Lydia teased. No. Allison said, cheeks still red. Lydia suddenly asked. Wait, Allison, are you still a virgin? That is none of your business. Allison shouted, then turned and ran off to gather the arrows, flustered. Lydia giggled and followed her. Inside the kitchen, Jacob, who had been listening with his enhanced hearing, grinned. Damn, my charm ability is really working, and the system still says it's not strong enough. I really want to hear those dreams they had about me. He shook his head, musing to himself. I don't know how I'm going to convince them to accept being in a harem, but maybe the best way is to tell them the truth about the supernatural, and about what I am. Then just hope for the best. He pulled out some pizza from his pocket dimension, along with one of the rotisserie chickens he received that morning, and placed them on the table. Then he grabbed a few bottles of Coke from the fridge and set everything up. Soon Allison and Lydia came to the kitchen. After washing their hands, they sat down at the table. Lydia looked at the food. When did you order pizza? Jacob replied. Before you girls came to my place. I was planning to eat it for lunch. All 3 boxes? Lydia raised an eyebrow. I eat a lot. Jacob said with a grin. Allison pointed to the chicken. Did you cook that? Nope, ordered it. Styles and Scott stayed over last night, and we had chicken for breakfast. Now stop asking questions and let's eat. As they were eating, Lydia picked up a Coke, frowned, and asked, This is regular Coke? Don't you have diet? Jacob shook his head. Nope. I have a sweet tooth. I don't buy diet. Aren't you afraid of getting fat? Jacob shrugged. Not at all. And if you don't like the Coke, there's some naked juice in the fridge. Get it yourself. After they finished eating, Lydia glanced at Jacob and asked, Can I call you Jay too? Jacob smiled. Sure. The 3 of them cleaned up the kitchen together, then settled into the living room to watch a movie. They spent the rest of the day laughing, talking, and hanging out until the evening. Allison checked her phone. I should go. My mom just messaged, she wants me home. Lydia stretched and said casually, I think I'll spend the night here. Allison whipped around. What? No, you can't. Why not? Lydia asked with a sly smile. It's not like Jay minds, right, Jay? Jacob nodded. I don't mind the company. There are plenty of rooms. You're welcome to stay. Lydia gave Allison a smug look. See? You can stay too if you want. I can't. Allison muttered. And you're not staying either. Lydia pouted. But I don't feel like going home. Then you can come to my house. Allison offered. Sleep over there. Okay. Lydia said. But on one condition. Allison narrowed her eyes. What condition? You have to tell me about that dream. If you don't, I'm staying here. Jacob perked up. Wait, what dream? Can I hear it too? Allison's face turned bright red. No. Lydia, let's go. She grabbed Lydia's arm and stormed toward the door, dragging her along. Lydia burst into laughter as they left. Jacob opened the gate for them. As they drove past him, both girls leaned out their windows and called. Good night, Jay. He smiled. Good night, girls. See you Monday at school. Then he closed the gate, walked back into his mansion, and played some video games before finally calling it a night and going to sleep. Scott's POV. After leaving Jacob's house, Scott spent the day hanging out with Styles. Later that night, after finishing his homework, he went to bed, only to wake up again in the middle of the woods. Damn it. He muttered. It happened again. He looked around warily. Come out. I know you're there. A low growl echoed through the trees. Scott's eyes glowed yellow as he turned toward the sound and spotted a familiar figure. Peter Hale in his werewolf form, watching him from behind a tree. Before Scott could speak, Peter vanished into the forest. And just then Scott heard footsteps. Scott turned and saw several armed men approaching. Leading them was a face he recognized all too well, the same man who picked up Allison from school every day. Shit. Scott muttered. Hunters. Just what I need right now. He bolted, running as fast as he could, but Chris fired an arrow that zipped past him. It hit a tree and exploded with a blinding flash of light, temporarily blinding Scott. Arg! He cried out, stumbling. Before he could recover, Another arrow struck him in the leg. Pain shot up his body and he collapsed with a yell. Just as the hunters closed in, someone burst onto the scene, attacking them with incredible force, throwing them aside like rag dolls. The stranger dragged Scott away from danger and only stopped once they were far enough into the woods. Then he dropped Scott to the ground. Scott gritted his teeth and yanked the arrow out of his leg, tossing it aside. He looked up and recognized his rescuer. It was Derek Hale. "You," Scott said. "I met you the other day, when I was looking for my inhaler with Styles." Derek nodded. Scott narrowed his glowing eyes. "You called me here, didn't you? You turned me into a monster." Derek stared at him calmly. "Is it really that bad, Scott? You can see better, hear clearer, move faster than any human could ever dream of. Look at your leg, it's already healed." "I didn't ask for this," Scott snapped. Derek took a step closer. "You've been given something most people would kill for. The bite is a gift, Scott." "I don't want it." Derek gave a slight smirk. "You will. And you'll need me to help you control it." He placed a hand on Scott's shoulder. "You and me, we're brothers now." Scott's thoughts raced. Damn it, maybe Jacob was right. I need to stop being a bitch and accept what I am. Screw it. I'm fighting this bastard. Without warning, he punched Derek hard in the face, sending him crashing to the ground. Derek scrambled to his feet, surprised, and wiped a trickle of blood from the corner of his mouth. He thought Scott had lost control. But Scott stood firm, still in control, though clearly both nervous and excited. "You sound like you're trying to recruit me into some kind of cheap cult," Scott said, voice steady despite the adrenaline. Derek frowned. "I can help you, Scott. You need to learn to control your powers." Scott scoffed. "Do I look like I need help? And stop dragging me out to the woods in the middle of the night with your howls. It's annoying. Also, I'm not joining your pack, so go find someone else to turn into your beta, and leave me alone." Derek narrowed his eyes. "How do you even know what a beta is? And you didn't seem surprised by the hunters either." "That's none of your business." Scott shot back. "Now are you going to stay away from me or not?" Derek wanted to test Scott's strength, so he kept pretending to be the alpha. He smirked. "No. And now I'm going to teach you a lesson." Then Derek lunged at him and the two began to fight. At first, Scott was getting his ass handed to him, struggling to keep up. But the more they fought, the more surprised Derek became. Scott was adapting fast, getting stronger by the second. Soon, fur began to sprout not only along Scott's cheeks but on his arms as well. His skin darkened into a deep gray, and his features grew sharper, more wolf-like. By the time Scott fully shifted into this more advanced form, he was stronger than Derek. Realizing he couldn't hold back anymore, Derek shifted too, going all out. But even in his transformed state, he could barely maintain an advantage over Scott. Scott, on the other hand, was enjoying the rush, so much so that he didn't even notice Derek's glowing blue eyes instead of red. Their snarling and crashing through the forest eventually drew unwanted attention. Chris and several hunters found them again. Arrows flew toward them, but both Scott and Derek were moving so fast during their clash that none of the arrows landed a hit. Spotting the hunters, Derek growled, "Run for your life." Before darting off into the woods. Scott didn't wait around either. He turned and bolted, racing back to his house, leaving Chris and his hunters swearing in frustration. The next morning, Scott told Styles everything. "You're telling me you were almost as strong as Derek?" Styles asked, wide-eyed. "Well," Scott said. "He didn't shift into his full monstrous form, so I'm guessing he's a lot stronger when he does." Jacob, Styles, and Scott arrived at the old Hale house and stepped out of the car. Styles looked up at the charred, crumbling remains of the once proud home and muttered, "I don't think Derek or anyone lives here." Jacob replied, "I'm going to check inside. By the way, Scott, do you smell that?" Scott sniffed the air. "Smell what?" "Blood. Can't you smell it?" Jacob asked. Scott took a deeper breath, then nodded. "Yeah, you're right. I can smell it." Jacob said, "I can smell more. It's the same scent as the dead girl we found the night you got bitten." "You mean, the other half of her body is here?" Styles asked. Jacob said, "Yes." Then he pointed to a section of the yard where the ground looked freshly dug. "Over there." "What should we do?" Styles asked, looking nervous. Scott said, "Let's dig up the body and tell your dad and send Derek to jail." Jacob said, "Let me check the house first. But I doubt Derek's inside. If he were, he would have heard us already and come out." Jacob headed into the house, not to look for Derek, but to complete a system sign-in. As he got inside the house, Jacob said to the system in his mind, "System, sign in." Location sign-in successful. Rewards obtained. Ability poison resistance. Immunity to all poison. Bottomless bag of chips. Infinite chips. Strength potion. Permanently increases strength slightly after consumption. Jacob smiled with satisfaction and thought, great, the rewards I got this time are all great, even the bag of chips. As expected from a location like the Hale house. System, merge the poison resistance ability into my body. Are you sure, host? Yes. As you wish. Poison resistance is now being merged into the host's body. Jacob felt a wave of heat spread across his body, but the feeling went away quickly. Ability merged successfully. Awesome. Now I don't have to worry about poison anymore. He took out the strength potion and drank it. A wave of heat rushed through him again. Jacob clenched his fist and felt that his body had become stronger. Then he shifted, and this time his entire chest was covered with black, shiny scales. I feel so strong, but I don't think I can beat Peter yet. Anyway, I should find him and confirm how strong I am compared to him. Jacob smirked and thought, I can't wait to fight him again. System, show me my status. Status. Name, Jacob Alexander, 16 years old. Species, human/dragon. Abilities, 1. Fire element control. 2. Thunder element control. 3. Fire and lightning resistance. 4. Standard shifter abilities. 5. Poison resistance. 6. Passive charm. Weapons and items. Defective lightsaber, defective invisibility cloak, Excalibur knockoff, the Joker's laughing bomb, X20, Aiken of Popeye's spinach. Jacob saw his status and was so excited when the word locked, after fire and thunder element control disappeared. He said to the system, System, can I use fire and thunder now? Yes, host. However, the current level of your elemental powers is weak. They are not yet suitable for combat. How do I use them? You can think of the ability you want to use just like when you want to shift, and you will be able to use it. Note, although the host can use his elements now, I suggest you hide them until you are strong enough to protect yourself or have an escape skill like teleportation. If people know you are a dragon, they will do everything to hunt you, be it out of fear or greed. Jacob thought about using his elemental powers, and soon his right hand ignited with fire while his left sparked with electricity. He stared at his hands with excitement and thought, even if I can't use them in combat yet, it's still pretty damn cool to control fire and lightning. By the way, system, do I need to be an alpha to use powerful elemental attacks? No, host. Since you've awakened your elemental powers, you can train daily to strengthen them. With time and effort, their power will grow. If you're lucky, you may receive elemental enhancing potions or abilities related to your elements through monthly, location, and quest sign-ins. Great. And what about the fire and lightning resistance listed in my status? Tell me more about that. That ability means you're immune to fire and lightning, host. Nice. Now I just need to train and keep a low profile. The last thing I want is to get hunted by some psycho who wants dragon leather boots. He glanced around. All right. Time to head back to Scott and Styles. As he exited the house, Jacob spotted a shovel leaning by the door. He grabbed it and walked over to the others. Hey guys. He called. No sign of Derek, but I found a shovel. Styles lit up. Perfect. Now dig up whatever's buried over there. Jacob tossed the shovel toward him. You dig. I'm not digging someone's grave, that feels disrespectful. Styles caught it awkwardly. Why me? I don't have supernatural strength. Jacob shrugged. You're the one into necrophilia, not me. For the last time, I'm not into necrophilia. Styles groaned. Scott sighed, taking the shovel. Give me that. I'll dig. A few minutes later, Scott hit something. I think I found something. Styles, give me a hand. Styles jumped into the hole and helped Scott uncover the object. It was wrapped tightly in black cloth. As they started unwrapping it, they were both horrified to find the upper half of a wolf's body. They screamed and scrambled out of the grave in a panic. Jacob, who already knew what was buried there, burst into laughter. Cowards. Shut up. Styles snapped. I was prepared to see a dead girl, not a freaking dead wolf. Jacob looked at the wolf and said, That's not a wolf, that's a girl. Or to be more precise, that's a werewolf. Scott said, You mean this is the body we're looking for? Then how are we supposed to turn her back to human form? Jacob pointed toward a flower growing beside the grave. That's easy. See that flower over there? You just need to pull it out. Styles looked at the flower Jacob was pointing at and said, That's wolfsbane. Yes. Jacob said. Scott, who had been told before that wolfsbane is a werewolf weakness, started backing away. Wait, wolfsbane is toxic to werewolves, right? Should I even be near it? Is that flower going to kill me if I touch it? Jacob rolled his eyes. Relax. Wolfsbane is poisonous to werewolves, but only if ingested or introduced into your bloodstream. You can still touch it briefly, but you shouldn't stay near it too long, it'll start to affect you. Scott stopped retreating and walked back to Jacob's side. All right, Styles. You do it. Styles sighed dramatically, then grabbed the flower and yanked it out. It was connected to a thin rope, which spiraled around the grave. As he pulled the last of the rope free, the spiral glowed red, and suddenly the wolf shifted back into a girl's body. Scott and Styles stared in shock. Styles said, "Do you think this is why Derek killed her?" Scott frowned. "What do you mean?" "Well," Styles said, "she's different from you, Scott. She can shift into a full wolf. Maybe Derek killed her to gain her ability or something." Scott turned to Jacob. "Is he right?" Jacob shook his head. "I don't think so." Then Jacob's ears twitched slightly. He smirked. "Why don't we ask him directly?" Styles blinked. "What do you?" Scott interrupted. "I hear a car. Someone's coming." Styles looked nervous. "Should we leave?" Jacob shrugged. "No. We came here looking for Derek, didn't we?" Scott turned to his friend. "Styles, stay behind me." Soon a car pulled up and Derek got out. The moment he saw the grave disturbed and his sister's body exposed, his eyes glowed bright blue, and he growled as he walked toward them. "What are you doing?" he demanded. Scott stepped forward. "We found the girl you killed and we're going to send you to jail." From behind Scott, Styles added, "Yeah, and did you kill her because she was a different kind of werewolf? Because she could shift into a full wolf and you wanted that ability?" Derek's growl deepened. His entire body radiated rage. Jacob thought, "I think we went too far. This guy just lost his sister and we dug her up like it was nothing. If it were me, I'd probably tear someone's head off." He sighed and stepped forward. "All right, that's enough, Scott." Styles. "He's not the alpha and he didn't kill the girl." Scott looked confused. "How do you know?" Jacob stared at him. "Did you two forget what I told you about alphas?" Styles answered. "That they're the leaders of a pack and stronger than betas?" Jacob nodded. "And what about their eyes?" Both Scott and Styles remembered. An alpha's eyes glow red. They saw Derek's eyes glowing blue and realized they had made a mistake. Scott looked at Derek. "I'm sorry. I thought you were the alpha. I didn't pay attention to the color of your eyes yesterday. But to be fair, you didn't deny it. You even pretended to be the alpha. Anyway, thank you for saving me from the hunters yesterday." Derek's eyes returned to normal as he snorted, clearly annoyed. Then he looked at Jacob, narrowing his eyes. He could feel threatened by Jacob. Whatever Jacob was, he was very dangerous. "Who are you?" Derek asked. "And what are you?" "I'm a friend of Scott's," Jacob replied. "As for what I am, I don't know yet." "You don't know?" Derek asked suspiciously. Jacob shrugged. "Yes, I don't know what I am. Now, can you tell me who the girl was to you? I can feel your sadness." Derek walked silently to the grave, looking down at the body. "Her name was Laura Hale. She was my older sister." Styles muttered. "Shit, so we're the bad guys here." Scott nodded solemnly. "Yes, we are." Without a word, Jacob jumped into the grave. He gently wrapped Laura's body back in the black cloth, his expression serious. He thought, "I shouldn't have let them dig her up in the first place. I'm still thinking this is a TV show and that's wrong. This is a real world and what we did just now was wrong." He climbed out of the grave and faced Derek. "I'm sorry. We shouldn't have disturbed her. I know what it's like to lose someone you love. I really am sorry for your loss, and for what we did." Then he turned to Scott and Styles. "You guys should apologize too." Jacob picked up the shovel and began covering Laura's body with dirt again. Scott and Styles, guilt all over their faces, looked at Derek. "We're sorry," they said quietly. After the grave was filled, Derek took the wolfsbane and the rope from Styles. He carefully recreated the spiral around the grave to return his sister's body to her wolf form.